Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. How you guys doing today? You guys are all having a great day today. Okay. Okay. Hey, Brandon. How you doing, man? Hey, Kenny. Hey, everyone. Hey, Visionary. Hey, everyone. Hey, guys. How you doing? Hang on. Did you guys get a notification for the stream today? Okay, one second. Happy Friday, everyone. Hey, guys. How you doing? No, you didn't get a notification? Wait, I don't know why my game's doing this, or my YouTube channel, I should say. Sometimes it doesn't send out notifications to people. Happy Friday, everyone. Oh, hey, CXD. How you doing, man? Hey, Alan. It just appeared on my recommended, but there was no, But there wasn't a notification, though. Might be because I put out all those videos earlier. Might be the short and the stream, and because...
Just what in the hell are you doing here?
Hey, Stormbringer.
Shit, that's them! Last fella who tried to short shrift me learned I can count real good. All the way to 6.
Oh, crap, that's not what I wanted to do.
You don't belong there!
Oh my god.
Go to hell!
That ruined my stealth just now.
God damn it! Any regret? Oh, want some? I'm gonna bleed you. Oh, what the hell? What the hell? So close! They're dead.
Got him. Okay, nice. Okay, what happened to your Rockstar boycott because they wouldn't update Red Dead Redemption 2? I never said I would boycott Rockstar. I was pissed off about, you know, what happened with Red Dead Online. But I've never purchased anything from Rockstar. No shark cards or microtransactions, I should say. No shark cards or, GTA Plus or gold bars, none of that stuff. Okay, here we go. Also, guys, guess what? When I logged into Twitter today, I saw there's a new rumor now going around. And there's a new leak. And I was like, oh god, no, not again. And the new leak is that GTA 6 is gonna get a trailer on December 26th. And like and now this is blowing up. I'm starting to get annoyed by all these stupid leaks. Um, literally, Rockstar themselves said that marketing will begin in summer. Take-Two Interactive said marketing will begin in summer. That's literally what they said. Literally, the 26th is not summer. That's spring. And everyone's saying, oh, you know, they're gonna release the trailer next trailer on the 26th. It's like, oh my god. It's I gotta say, these leaks are getting really annoying. Really annoying. May 26th, when they were saying it.
Oh, for the love of God!
Did I see the Take-Two stock lately? Oh yeah, it dropped a bit. That was because of their earnings. Their earnings missed they missed the expected amount on the earnings, and also on top of that, it was a lot of people were hoping for a GTA 6 trailer. When the investors didn't see that, they weren't too happy. But the stock, I wouldn't panic about that personally, because Take-Two Interactive stock is gonna go up when the GTA 6 trailer goes live in June, sometime probably near the end of June, or early July. It's gonna it's gonna rise up. It's gonna go back up. So I wouldn't panic about that, dude. Rest in peace, Tom Kane. He's the voice actor for Takio. Oh, he did Takio. I didn't know he did Takio, but yeah. And the thing is, when I was looking at some of the questions the investors were asking during the earnings call, it's clear they don't play GTA Online. Like, they don't. Because like there was like one investor that was asking if GTA Online is still going to be supported when GTA 6 comes out, and I was like thinking to myself, like, no, it's not. Like, I don't know, like they're not going to put effort into making GTA Online updates when GTA 6 comes out. It's not going to happen. But that investor was like asking about that, but I don't know how an investor can be that dumb, but you could tell he didn't play like the GTA games. GTA 6 Online is gonna be supported. That's what they're gonna do. Okay. Hey, Pro, look at my profile pic. I gotta zoom in on it. Hold on. Well, that's Jaime Weiss. I can tell from the picture. That's Jaime Weiss. Are the shareholders in charge of Take-Two and Rockstar? No. Oh, don't worry about it, Brandon. Right now, we're fine. Well, here's the really sad thing about this demigod. Guys, GTA 6 clickbait is not gonna end when GTA 6 releases. It's not. You would think that it's gonna end, but it's not. It's actually gonna probably double. Here's what's gonna happen when GTA 6 releases. I'm predicting this, and you can already call and you can already see this is gonna happen. Remember what happened with Red Dead Redemption 2? The exact same thing is gonna happen with GTA 6. So does anybody here remember the Red Dead Redemption 2 clickbait? Like, after the game came out, do you remember what that clickbait was specifically about? Do you remember what it was? Somebody in the comments here's got to remember what it was about. Hey, Pro, I got Trader. We can sell and Moonshine. Do you have it full right now, Justin? Thank you for the super chat. Wait, what are you talking about, Alan? Apologize to who? What are you talking about, Alan? It's full? Okay, then I can, Yes, exactly, Adrian. Let me go and help, Justin first. Justin, can you form your posse? Okay, so, basically, here's what's gonna happen with the clickbait, guys. When GTA 6 comes out, like a month or two after GTA 6 comes out, there's gonna be tons of clickbait about story DLC. There's gonna be tons of it. And what these stupid clickbaiters are gonna do is they're gonna upload videos basically saying, oh, you know, Lucia DLC expansion, Jason DLC expansion, or something like that, or like plays Raul DLC expansion, like, you know, something like that. They're gonna say GTA 6 story DLC. Remember what happened with Red Dead Redemption 2? Remember? Do you guys remember all those stupid clickbait that happened like a couple years ago, where all the YouTubers they kept saying, oh, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2 story DLC coming, you know, play as Sadie Adler, you know, play as Charles, you know, play as Young Dutch, you know, stuff like that, play as Javier Escuela DLC. Like, you guys remember all those stupid Red Dead Redemption 2 story DLC clickbait? Like, that's exactly what's gonna happen with GTA 6, is they're gonna be like all of this, you know, random story DLC clickbait that they're gonna do. It's not gonna end, they're just gonna do that next.
All right here, folks.
Michael does life. He accused me of asking a customer service question just because I asked him if he was going to play GTA 6 when it releases professional. Who? I've never heard of this channel before. Let me look this guy up here. Well, I don't know this channel. But I can't speak on the specifics, but if he did actually say that, Alan, though, that's like a then that's like a stupid thing to say. It's not a customer service question to ask somebody if they're going to be playing a game when it comes out. It's a simple yes or no. Me and James need to leave a posse. Okay, hold on, Justin. I'll take care of it right now. Oh, great, Jimmers. Okay, oh my god. Okay. Oh my god, this NPC really wants to die, doesn't he? I will eventually Malbo, there's just a lot of games to play. Have I ever fallen for Call of Duty clickbait? I don't think so, really. I know there's a lot of Call of Duty clickbait that goes around, but I don't really watch Call of Duty videos, so that's probably why I don't fall for it. Well, it was also him and Dean, you know, go back. They grew up together, you know, visionary. I'll probably wait for the next GTA 6 trailer, and I'll make that video talking about what I want to see in GTA 6. Hey, Pro, is it a good idea to move to Vietnam for a studio apartment? Rent is $250 a month, including utilities, and I can eat out every day for $2. Meals is monthly living will be around $1,000. Is it worth the move? Well, I have a bunch of Vietnamese viewers. They might be able to answer your question. Is Minion Dave or Gunner here? Because I know both those guys are from Vietnam. Basically, here, how would you support yourself? Because you're saying that it would be very cheap to live in Vietnam, which there's no denying that Vietnam is a very affordable country to live in. Things are much more affordable in like a place like America. But how would you support yourself exactly in that country? And you have to get permission to live in another country too. You can't just go to another country. There's that. Yeah.
You forgot yourself a minute there.
Mr. Boss posted a new video, GTA 6 leak release date, with a thumbnail saying GTA 6 trailer by Rockstar Games on YouTube, posted 24 minutes ago. Oh my god. Is it that stupid leak that's saying that May 26th is going to be the trailer date? Is that the thing? I have savings from crypto investments. Well, what I will basically say to you is you don't want to live off savings. Even if you have a lot of savings, you want to have something that you can live off of, like something that you can generate you money and stuff like that. But also, here's the thing about this is you would be living in another country. You should make an attempt to learn the language. And the other thing I will say about this is that Vietnam is not a democracy. So make sure you just keep that in mind. It's a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a terrible place to visit or a terrible place even to live, but it is not a democracy. So that's what a lot of people forget when they go to a place like Vietnam. Now, to be fair, though, Vietnam is not as scary as, like, China. China is way more strict and way scarier. So, like, in China, it's much easier to get in trouble and arrested. But Vietnam, again, does not have freedom of speech, and it is not a democracy. So just make sure you keep that in mind. He talks about the trailer 3 leak. He's an idiot. Look, the Take-Two Interactive said that Rockstar is going to begin marketing in the summer. They're going to begin marketing in the summer. May 26th is not the summer. May 26th is spring. That's what it is. And that is, that's just stupid right there. There's no proof for it. Now, could there be a trailer for GTA 6 on May 26th? Possibly. It's always, anything's possible. But it's not according to what Take-Two said. Take-Two said marketing is going to begin in summertime. And now all these YouTubers, they're pushing the leaks again. Look at this. I'm honestly getting so sick of this. I'm getting so sick of this garbage. I'm getting so mad about these leaks. I'm getting so annoyed that all this false information is being spread around. It's so annoying. Like, guys, literally a couple days ago, it was all the leaks were saying May 18, pre-orders are going to go live, May 18. Nothing happens. Nothing. And then do you know what happens? Then there was this new stupid leak that was on 4chan where they were saying, oh, you know, GTA 6 is going to get delayed to February at the Take-Two earnings call. But at the Take-Two earnings call, they said, no, the game is not getting delayed. The game is coming out November 19th. And now just a couple days later, there's another stupid leak where they're saying, oh, you know, May 26th is going to be the trailer 3. I cannot believe that people fall for this. Like, why are so many people believing this stuff? I don't understand why so many people get so mad at me for calling this stuff out. Like, whenever I call this stuff out, I get so many hate comments of people saying, oh, we're just trying to have fun. You know, you're ruining our fun. It's like, blah, 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 this. It's like, it's false information. It's not real. It's not legitimate. It isn't. I don't know why people get so defensive about this stuff. But it's all these leaks are just so stupid. And there's gonna be more and more of these leaks coming up. There's been more and more of them. I have gotten so many hate comments in, like, the last few weeks. There's so many hate comments whenever I call out these stupid leaks.
Don't think for a second that dog won't turn and rip your face off.
Yes, I will, QC Suppressor. When we do the exclusive stream, just make sure that you remind me. What game am I playing next? We're probably gonna do a funny playthrough next. What I'm probably gonna do a playthrough of next is I'm probably gonna do a playthrough of the Mind's Eye story DLC. I know some people are probably like, oh god, no. But yeah, the Mind's Eye has a story DLC that came out. I might do like a playthrough of that, and we might just have some lols just on it, just like making fun of the game and stuff like that. I did beat the story in this game. I didn't know Vietnam was a dictatorship. It seems like a nice country. It's a one-party state. That's what it is. Also, one-party state is basically like a nice way to say dictatorship, because no country ever says that they're a dictatorship. Like, they never say that they are. But whenever you hear the term one-party state always means dictatorship. That's what it is. So that's, in Vietnam, the Communist Party is the only party that's allowed to run. And if there are any parties that are allowed to run, they have to get specific permission from the Communist Party, and they have to support most of the Communist Party's messaging anyways. So that's basically how it is in Vietnam. I just finished the Yakuza Kiwami 2 Majima Saga video, Pat. Do you think, while lackluster, it's the best closure for Majima Zero story, Makoto and all? Yeah, Makoto is the best part of the Majima Saga story. Like, the Majima Saga storyline was just so, you know, short, and it was kind of boring. It kind of was. Like, you know, Majima, like, the first chapter of the Majima Saga storyline, like, it started out cool with, like, the cutscene of Majima walking in with the money, but then afterwards it just got boring, where, like, you know, Majima's guys get beat up, and then this Majima runs to the office, finds, you know, Umatsu dead, and then that's like, the end of the first chapter. So it doesn't have, like, these build-ups, like, these huge, like, fight scenes, like, you know, like, there are so many scenes of, like, Kiryu, where, like, Kiryu goes into a building, and he has, like, those fight scenes where he's, like, going room to room, just beating people up. Like, Majima Saga doesn't have any of that. So, like, I was expecting, like, Majima to, like, go into, like, Ibachi's, like, headquarters or something like that, and let's, like, start beating them up one by one. But no, it's just like a boring boss battle. Like, you beat up the guy at the Grand, and that's pretty much it. It's over. Like, it was, thank you, Jolly. The best part was Makoto of that DLC. Will you also have a third retail react to comments and or how to handle criticism and not get so easily offended? Advice channel update. It'll help a lot. I don't know. I want to do like another one of those real life advice videos, but I don't know what I'm gonna do QC suppressor next. I'll figure it out though. Nothing is real if it's not from Rockstar. GG, Ned Luke. Yeah. The leaks feel like a similar situation where guys claim that he knows about the Rapture Day and people quit their jobs. Of course it didn't come. I actually remember when that stuff was happening. When I was a kid, I remember when it became the year 2000, and there was people that were saying like that the world is going to end in the year 2000. Like, there's so many people that believe that the world was going to end, and nothing happened. And then the same thing, it was like 2012, people were saying that the world was going to end in 2012, nothing happened. And the conspiracies were, like, so ridiculous, too. Like, people were saying, oh, the Mayan calendar that, like, says that it ends in the year 2012, and so therefore that shows the end of the world and stuff like that. And here's the thing is that if you, when it comes to history, were the Mayans an advanced civilization? Yes, the Mayans were an advanced civilization, but you know what the Mayans also did? The Mayans also sacrificed people and cut people's hearts out. And people tell me that these guys predicted the end of the world in 2012, like, through their calendar. So, like, that's what I always tell people that were like back in when that 2012 stuff was happening, I was telling people were like, the Mayans say the world's gonna end, and I was like, the Mayans also cut people's hearts out and sacrificed them to their gods. You know that, right? And I'm like, you're telling me these guys predicted that the world is gonna end in 2012. So that's Have you ever thought about playing the Uncharted series? Yeah, it's people have requested it. But I've never played them before, so it would be an interesting playthrough to do. Thank you, Cam Lamar, for the super chat. Didn't Mayans go extinct way before 2012? Their civilization actually collapsed before they came in contact with the Europeans. The reason that the Mayan civilization collapsed is because the people gave up. That's essentially why. It wasn't like a revolution or a civil war or getting conquered. It was just the people gave up. Because what happened was they had like really bad weather seasons. They couldn't grow any crops. And what the Mayans did to get when they were desperate is they started sacrificing more people. They started killing more people, sacrificing them to the gods, thinking that that was going to bring them like a good harvest. Nothing happened. So they kept killing people. Nothing happened. And then their whole civilization collapsed. The weather never improved, and a lot of them just moved on. They moved to other civilizations, other towns, and they just gave up. That's pretty much what happened with the Mayans. What are your thoughts on Stephen Colbert's show airing its final episode last night due to being canceled by CBS? I really don't care, honestly. Thank you, Sel, for the super chat. Like, the thing about Colbert is, I think that Colbert became more of an annoying person. Like, I remember, like, when I was a kid, I watched him when I was a teenager, and he was, like, funny. But he more became, like, an arrogant person. He more became, like, increasingly political, which he was always political, to be fair, but he just became so political in, like, the last few years. And when I watch a comedy show, I want to stay away from the political drama. I just want to laugh, you know, enjoy myself. But it was just, like, constant political drama, like, every single week. So, personally speaking, I really don't care that much about, like, Colbert's show. You know, the only late-night show comedian that I liked was Conan, you know, because Conan was not a toxic person. Conan didn't really get involved in that political drama. Conan's like, I'm here to make you guys laugh, have a good time, and stuff like that. That's why I like Conan the most. And Jon Stewart was also really good in back in the day, but then he just became annoying too. So that's really my thoughts on itself. I did hear about that, but I didn't know him. I don't follow NASCAR a lot, but I've seen other comments, people talking about it. I know The Boys is that show with, like, the superheroes. I know that, but I don't know what Invincible is. Where do you lean politically, or are you an apolitical person? I mostly try to stay out of the political drama for the most part, but if I was to associate myself with any political party, I honestly hate both parties. I hate both the Republicans and Democrats. I can't stand either of them. I lean much more towards the Libertarians, so, like, the Libertarian Party. Like, I'm much more likely to vote third party. What are your thoughts on the 81-year-old grandmother who got swatted while streaming Minecraft? What? I'm gonna play the new, James Bond game. Yes, I'm gonna play it. Thoughts on the tornado alley shifting eastward, Pat? That's... in the Midwest, like, right around May time, it's when those tornadoes can happen, too. And the tornadoes are so scary because they just come out of nowhere. The dust storms are also really scary. I've never seen a dust storm before in New York, and when I moved to the Midwest, I saw a dust storm for the first time. It's scary. It blacks out the sun. It's like it becomes night. It's terrifying. When did this swatting incident happen? When did this happen? Mieszko? Who's, Mieszko. That name sounds Polish. Let me look him up here. Oh, the founder of Poland, yeah, and the first united Polish state. Yes, this guy lived a long time ago, because Poland was formed at the end of the 10th century. Yes, he was Okay. He was the guy who converted Poland to Christianity. Yes, that was Mieszko. The gaming grandma. I'll look into this too. With the that's horrible that somebody would do something like that. She got swatted while streaming to pay grandson's medical bills. Oh my god. The fact that somebody would do something like that, that's horrible. Can people die from swatting? Yes, they can, and it's happened before. It's happened. People have died from swatting. Because, there was... There was a swatting goes back, like, even, like, 10, 15 years ago. And swatting really... Swatting started mostly on Call of Duty. That's where that dark garbage started. It started with... there was, like, Call of Duty players calling in SWAT teams on other people constantly. Like, they would call the police. They would use, like, an app or something like that and to hide their number. And then they would say that there's, like, a guy with a bomb or a gun or something like that. And he has hostages just to get the SWAT team involved. And the SWAT team would then go to the person's, like, they would go to the person's house. And it was to break down their door and stuff like that, scared them, and this could put people's lives in danger, because think about it this way, is the SWAT don't know that it's false. So when the SWAT team is being called in, for all they know, there's some crazy guy with like a gun, and they're basically prepared to shoot. And so if somebody could actually get shot in that, it's really horrible. There was a situation that happened like a couple years ago where this guy was arguing with this other guy in Call of Duty. I don't remember how the whole thing started, but like one guy beat like another guy, and the other guy was like trash talking, and he threatened to send the SWAT team to the guy's house, and the guy said to him, "Oh, here's my address, you know, send the SWAT team here." But the address he gave was not his actual address. He gave the address of some random guy who had nothing to do with this whole situation, didn't even know any of them. And basically that moron called the SWAT team to that address. The SWAT team goes to the address, they surround the guy's house, the guy comes out of the house, and when the guy comes out of the house, half the cops are telling him to stay where he is, and then half the cops are telling him to come to them. And so the guy is confused, and he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. And there's one group of cops is yelling this way, one group of cops is yelling that way. The person doesn't know what to do, and one of the cops shot and killed him. And I think that cop should have been charged, the cop who shot him, because that was completely out of line. There was no proof that the guy was... There was no immediate risk of harm or crime or anything like that there. The guy was surrounded by cops. He did not appear to be a threat at all. But I know the courts, like, dismissed the case against the cop. But the guy who called that in, he got arrested. And I think the other guy got arrested too, the guy who was also trash-talking, who gave him the false address. And so I think this happened... This was in Kentucky or Kansas, where this happened. And that state passed a law where if swatting results in the death of somebody, you will be charged with murder. That's what the state passed, like, a law on that. So that I think that was the first time somebody died from swatting when that happened, and that case got nationwide attention when it happened. My favorite Strangers and Freaks mission in GTA 4? In GTA 4, my favorite Stranger mission, it might be probably the one with, Eddie Lowe. It's so creepy, but, like, that one is just pretty creepy.
Ready to go.
You missed my super chat? I'm sorry, let me look. Thoughts on Forza 6? Oh, I don't know much about it. I know that people were complaining about the Japanese maps, that the roads were too thin, but that's what they are like in Japan. And thank you, Doe, for the super chat and Sleep Punch. One of my friends is playing it a lot, but I don't know that much about it. Do I own Alaska and ID? What's ID? What, Idaho? You mean? I don't have any plans to go to Idaho, but I have plans to go to Alaska. I wanted to go to Alaska and buy a property in Alaska. Thank you, QC Suppressor, for the super chat. Why do I like the GTA series? Because the thing I like about the GTA series, I don't like the GTA series for the gunplay, the driving, the story, or maybe the storyline, but not even the maps, the open world. The main reason I like the GTA games is because you can play as a gangster. That's why I like them. I like them because you get to play as a criminal. That's my main reason I've always liked the GTA games. That's my main reason why I like them. Did I hear about Black Mesa Source Remake when playing the first Half-Life? I think I got a great fan animation movie for the next member stream. Yeah, some people recommended I play it when I played it. Jolly, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Manaf. And Steve Carrillo, I abandoned the job. What? And Steve Carrillo, you still here? Hunting the catch. What? QC Suppressor? Am I willing to watch the State of Play on June 2nd? I am, but I don't think GTA 6 is gonna have anything there. I could do it. What time is the State of Play? What time is it on June 2nd? What, specifically Eastern time? What? You had Take-Two stock, Steve Carrillo? This game hurts sometimes. What happened, Justin? Have you ever dealt with a smelly customer? A customer that smelled when I worked in retail? Of course. There's a lot of people that did that stuff. Do I know which plane the Rogue is based on? It's based on a Brazilian plane. A Brazilian training plane, I know that. Sure, Spectra, I can look at a little bit. Hey, Patrick, back in Saints Row 2, a lot of the rival gang characters' deaths and Dane Vogel's death is more satisfying than most GTA antagonists. Yeah. Yeah, some of them, like, Oh, how many shares do you have of it, Steve? Oh, let me look, Spectra. And thank you, Isaiah. I personally like GTA games for the gameplay and driving. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their preferences. When is Yakuza 3? Sometime later this year. I know we're gonna do the Mind's Eye DLC next. That's what I wanted to play.
Hello there.
What are you doing?
This is the Black Arabian Horse.
Do you feel like dying?
Am I gonna play the Silent Hill 2 remake? Yeah, one day. People have requested it. No, the Rogue is not a World War II plane. It's actually a more modern plane. Well, look, Steve, and I'll say this: I'm not a financial advisor, but dude, come on. But look, I will say this: is don't worry about it, man, because the I think Take-Two stock is gonna go up in the summertime when the advertising for GTA 6 happens. The stock is gonna rise, so I wouldn't panic about it. Yeah, it's okay, Brandon. Oh, hey, Minion Dave, you're here. The guy that was the guy that was asking me about Vietnam here earlier. Are you still here, dude? Hey, pro, about Michael, does life, he's the most toxic person I've ever seen. He calls his viewers R slurs and incels when no wait, who are you talking about? Jonathan? Thank you for the super chat. Next lore video, my next lore video will be on the Danang boys in the Nang boys in GTA San Andreas, analyzing that gang. Okay.
Evening, mister.
Okay. Hang on, guys. I gotta form a quick, I gotta form a private session right now quickly because I have, oh yeah, somebody was asking about moving to Vietnam, and I told him that you'd be able to tell him, Minion Dave. But I don't know if the guy is still here. The guy who was asking about moving to Vietnam, are you still here? He was here a couple minutes ago. Okay, hold on. Hang on a second. James, are you here? James, can you mute just my stream in the background? James, are you in that session right now? Okay, wait. Brandon, can you go into game chat for a moment, please? Okay. Or not game chatting, party chat. I'm sorry, not game chat, party chat. Stay in that session, by the way, guys. Hang on, because what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna form a private session right now. Oh no, I'm holding, Steve. I'm holding. You know, remember this. The number one thing about the stock market, it is not a loss until you sell. That's the thing is. Like, I bought Amazon stock once, and I was down for 3 months. For 3 months straight, I was down. And I held it, for 3 months. I was just really patient, and then it shut up. And then I ended up selling it when it shut up. So that's and I ended up making a profit from it. So, you know, it's, you said you had 2 shares of it. I wouldn't panic about it, because you have Take-Two stock is a little expensive, like $200, but you only have 2 shares. There is the stock will go up again. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, but it'll go up when GTA 6 advertising goes. So don't worry. Okay, let's see here. Free roam. Well, I've never heard of this channel before, Kyle. This or Jonathan. I'm sorry. This is the first time I've heard of this channel. I can't wait to see you play Danganronpa and cry after every single death like I did. You think if I like the Ace Attorney games, I'll like them? Okay, hang on. Brandon, are you here? Yeah. Brandon, stay in that session. We're going to form a private session. What? Okay, well, don't follow me into my new session. I need you to be in a separate session. I didn't see your comments. I really didn't. I'm sorry. Um, we're gonna form a private session right now to get away from this.
Look at that. Good evening, partner.
Okay. Okay, Brandon, I need you to invite me to your session right now. Okay.
Like what you see?
No, I don't think so.
I guess you got plans this evening? Fill out those clothes real nice.
It is so rare nowadays to meet a beautiful woman who can even put a sentence together.
Okay. Okay, Brandon, okay, I'm gonna invite you right now, Brandon, accept my invite, and Brandon, I need you to tell me when it says processing on the bottom of your screen, okay? When it says processing, tell me.
Back so soon?
Mister.
All right.
How many glasses am I drinking from?
Oh, okay, Mitchell, Pro Kingdom Come Deliverance is probably the best medieval game series out there, and its developers also officially work on the Lord of the Rings game. You know, I have to play Kingdom Come Deliverance one day, because what was it? My ancestors are in Kingdom Come Deliverance, so I can speak a lot on the history in that game. But my ancestors are actually the Cumans. So if you see those guys, the big metallic masks, like the bad guys in Kingdom Come that are just destroying everything, I'm actually related to those guys hundreds of years ago. So when I if I ever do a playthrough of Kingdom Come Deliverance, I could definitely talk about that.
Speaking on that for a moment, the studio just announced they're working on 2 new games. One of them is going to be related to Middle Earth. The other one, I don't recall. But they're going to be working on something that's related to the Lord of the Rings, if I understand what they said correctly. But that's as much detail as we have. More will come, I'm sure, later, much later, because that's a long-term project.
Okay. Okay, you're in the private lobby, Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna restart my game and I'm gonna join you. So, okay, so here's what I will do. This week coming up, I will do a video showing how to form a private lobby on Reddit Online. I'll show it how to do it. Because I know a lot of people have been asking me, so I'll make a video. But basically, what I just did right there, what you have to do, what you have to do here is you go to a poker table, you start a private session, you then invite your friend. Your friend has to be in a separate lobby. He cannot be in the same lobby as you. Your friend invites you also. And your friend that's in the other lobby accepts the invite first. And then what happens is when it says when they tell you that it's processing, then you accept their invite. You just wait like a second or two, and then afterwards your friend gets connected into the private session, and then you just join them, and that's it. That's all you gotta do. And that's how you get into a private session. Brandon, can you invite me? You should make another channel about finance. I don't know. There are what I could do a video on is I could do a video talking about the rental property business, because I'm very familiar with rentals. I've ran them for years, so I could do like a video giving people advice how to run a rental, make money from a rental and stuff like that. But I want to get a third one before I do that, just so I can get a little bit more experience too. But an easy way to an easy way to do it is to go to change appearance, wait a minute, and back out. Wait, what, Johnny? Is that another way to get into a private session? Well, those guys are stream snipers, Pab. Those guys are looking to kill me specifically. Ian finally got a GTA 4 plus episodes from Liberty City and Midnight Club 1 through LA. Oh, did he get like a bundle for them? Thank you, DL Gaming. But yeah, those games are all great. All fun. Do I have good Wi-Fi? Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go into back into the game chat. Alright, here we go. As a real estate agent, I would like that. Any advice for realtors in New York as a landlord? I'm not a landlord in New York. I'm originally from New York, but I moved out to the Midwest. That's where I have my rental properties. New York, it can be a messy state to be a landlord in, because in New York there's a lot of like really there can be a lot of really dumb laws when it comes to being a landlord. My parents, for example, when I was younger, because I grew up in a rental property that my parents owned, and my parents owned a small apartment building. It's not like big. If anybody has ever seen if anybody has ever seen the original Spider-Man movies, like Spider-Man 2 and 3, like, you know that small apartment building that Peter lives in with Mr. Ditkovich, who's the landlord? That's very similar, very, very similar to a building that I grew up in that even got, like, the staircase in those old buildings right in New York. It reminds me so much of where I grew up. But it was like a small little apartment building like that, like, 3 floors basically. And how many units did it have? It had 1, 2, 3, 4 units in total. So two units upstairs, 1 unit on the ground floor my parents lived, and then 1 unit downstairs. About that is, we've had really stupid laws in New York that we've dealt with. It was such a stupid situation that happened. So, the lower floor, it counted as the basement by the city, even though it technically wasn't the basement, because it had like a living room, it had windows. They were like kind of like basement-like windows, but it was still like a living room. You had like a bedroom down there, a kitchen, a bathroom, and you even had an exit to the outside from that, bottom unit. Now, what ended up happening was, right next door to where my parents lived, next door there was this extremely like racist, Austrian Nazi that like lived right next door to us. So like this guy was like in the German army during World War II. He was from Austria. I don't know if the guy was SS or anything. I just know that the guy was in the German army, and he absolutely hated my parents, because my parents are from Poland. Very racist against Polish people. And what that scumbag did is he actually called the city on us. And like a city inspector came to the property. It was like when I was a kid. It was like when I was 10 years old. This was more than 20 years ago. And the city inspector came, and the city inspector went to the lower unit, and what they did was they fined us because we had a bathtub in that property, and the city said you can't have a bathtub in the basement. So they said, like, you can't have a bathtub down here in the basement. It was apparently like a New York City law or something like that. And I don't even know what what is the basis on this law or anything like that, but we had to actually take the bathtub out of that unit because of that. So like the bathtub had to get removed. And so the guy couldn't have a shower down there too because the bathtub got removed, and like the bathroom looked stupid. It was like a bathroom with no bathtub, because it was like stupid New York laws that said that you can't have a bathtub in the basement. And so what ended up happening is the guy that lived down there, he had to then come upstairs and use our shower, our bathroom constantly. So every single time he would go to the bathroom, he had to come upstairs, use our shower, and use our bathtub. And I didn't even blame the guy. It's not his fault. But it was frustrating. It was annoying at the same time too. But that was like, that's what we dealt with though. We didn't see the Nazi that lived right next door to us. We never saw him actually call the inspector for us, but we are like 99% certain that he did it. because there was like nobody else that would have done that to us. Like he did that specifically to us. So the guy that lived in the unit definitely wouldn't call the inspector, because why would he? You know, it would sabotage his own living space. So literally, that was literally the only suspect that we had. We were pretty positive, 99% certain he did it. That was like a bad situation that we dealt with. And then what ended up happening is that unit downstairs, we then got rid of it. So when the guy's lease expired, we basically had we told him that he has to find like a new place. The guy ended up moving out, and we were just tired of the guy, you know, having to constantly come upstairs to the bathroom. And then what my parents did is they used the downstairs unit as like extra room for themselves. And I got an extra room, so I got a second room. I had like a room upstairs, and I had my room downstairs. But that was like a stupid situation that we had. But yeah. Is the guy, well, one person asked me, is the Nazi dead? I don't know. He was like, this is like, we moved away from that house in like, in 2007, we moved away from that apartment building. My parents sold it in like 2007. That's when we moved away. We moved to the suburbs of Long Island. But I don't know if he's dead. Possible. He is. It's, you know, he was like, you know, he was really old when that was going on too. But yeah, that's it. But but basically the point I was getting at is that New York City has some really stupid laws when it comes to landlords. It was like one person was just asking me about that before. New York City is not a bad place to be a real estate agent. It's actually a pretty good job being a real estate agent in New York, because New York properties are so expensive. They're insanely expensive. And so whenever you sell a property in New York, you're making bank. So if you're like a real estate agent, you're making a lot of money selling houses in New York. Being a landlord is very different in New York than being a real estate agent. So that's what I'll say. There's another story I will tell you about this, though. We had this one family that moved into the upstairs unit, and the family that moved into the upstairs unit, it didn't seem like there was anything wrong with them at first. It was just like a husband and a wife, and they seemed like nice people at the start. But what happened was, when the first month's rent came up to pay my parents, they refused to pay. They wouldn't pay. And what ended up happening is my parents would ask them, what's wrong? Why aren't you paying? They wouldn't give a reason for that. There wasn't even a complaint or anything. They just would not give a reason. They were scammers, basically what they were. And so then, like, you know, a couple months passed by, they weren't paying. And my mom had, like, contacted the city to take action against them, and she had to take it to court. And it was so frustrating, because these people were, like, living in my parents' building. They were living in the upstairs unit, and they were just not paying rent, and they were scamming us. And my parents weren't bad landlords or anything like that, but they were just basically scamming my parents. And my parents were, like, you know, my mom, it was like taking a mental toll on my mom's health. My mom was getting really mad. My dad was different. My dad was the type of guy that basically cursed people out. So, like, my dad used very foul language, like, cursed them out. But they still did not pay rent. They didn't do anything. And so my parents really couldn't do anything. And I got so pissed about that. I told my mom at the time, I was even a kid, but I understood what was going on. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, why don't you just basically, like, shut off, like, the water and their electricity to them? If they're gonna, you know, play this game, why don't you play this game back and, like, shut that off? And my mom was like, oh, no, I can't do that because that's New York City law. I can't shut that down. And I'm like, even if they're not paying? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, that's stupid. So, like, literally, they're literally not paying rent, and you still have to keep the electricity and water running for them? That's stupid. But that was like that was what I thought could get them out of the unit. If they don't have electricity or water, they'll leave. But apparently we couldn't shut that off because of New York City law. And so what ended up happening is, after 11 months, my parents finally got a court case after 11 months. 11 months. So imagine 11 months of those people living there without paying rent. 11 months. Almost a whole year of my parents getting scammed. And then, one day before our court case, they moved out. One day before our court case. One day. And we never saw them again. We don't know what happened to them. We couldn't find them. And the courts in New York, they would not compensate us. They would not give us money for that. They told us that it was not their responsibility. So, like, the courts in New York would not give us money for the 11 months that we waited. Like, they wouldn't give us any money. They told us that it was not their responsibility. When literally they took 11 months to hear the case, and then they told us that it wasn't their responsibility. And so that was like a situation that I remember that my parents had. It was like a really bad situation with tenants. But, like, that's why I'm grateful that I own a rental property in the Midwest, because in the Midwest, if somebody's pulling that, you know, trying to play that game, you can throw them out pretty quickly. You can get, you know, legal proceedings against them done pretty quickly, and the courts take that stuff very seriously, and they will throw the person out pretty quickly. But that was just a bad situation that we dealt with. But that's not the craziest. That's not the craziest situation that we dealt with at the rental property. the craziest situation that we ever dealt with is we had this guy that was like he was like a Polish guy. He was from Poland. He was a student in his early 20s when this happened. This happened like close to like 20 years ago. So he would have to be right now in his 40s about right now. But he when this situation happened, my parents are also from Poland. And so my parents brought this Polish student in because they thought they could talk to him in Polish. They thought that he was that he would be a good fit. They thought he was young. They liked him a lot. He didn't have any criminal record, so they liked him. And what ended up happening is, at first there was no problems. He paid rent on time. There was none of that issues. So he always paid his rent. But what ended up happening is this guy was the worst alcoholic ever that I've ever seen. And the thing about this is I have seen alcoholics in my family before, but this guy was like a whole nother level. This guy was something else. This guy, like, I've never seen somebody drink this much as this guy. Like, every single day, this guy would get drunk. Every single day. And this guy was like in his early 20s. Like, this guy was like, almost like a kid at this point. Like, he was basically an adult at this point, but he was still young. And so the guy was just so drunk every single day. But it's not even the drinking that was the problem. It's what he would do when he was drunk. So whenever the guy would get drunk, he would scream at the top of his lungs. Just scream. And he did not even live with anybody, so it's not like he was screaming at somebody. He lived by himself. He just screamed. He'd get drunk, and then he would scream all night, all day long. And he would punch holes in the wall. He would punch holes in the wall. He would flip tables over. He would trash the entire apartment around. So the only plus side of that is that he paid his rent on time. He always paid his rent, but he like literally was a psycho. And what ended up happening is whenever he would punch holes in the wall and scream and flip tables over, his unit where he was right above my room. So I was living in the unit right below him, and my bedroom was like right under him. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I would hear him upstairs screaming and flipping tables over. And that's when I was like a kid trying to go to sleep. That terrified me. Like, imagine just hearing some crazy guy stairs above you just punching holes in the wall and just screaming. That really terrified me when I was a kid. And it got so bad that my dad had to call the ambulance for him. And because he was dying of alcohol poisoning because he had gotten so much alcohol in his system that he was dying. And my dad had to call the ambulance for him. The ambulance took him away. They took him to the emergency room. The guy eventually came back. He acted like nothing happened when he came back. And then, like, a couple months later, or it's like a month or two later, he got so drunk that he almost died again. And my dad had to call 911 again. And they came and took him away. And then when the ambulance came back, or when he came back from the hospital, I should say, my dad basically told him, "That's it. You're done. Get out of here. I don't want you here anymore. Get the hell out of here." And surprisingly, the guy actually agreed to leave. Like, he didn't argue or anything. He just packed up his stuff and left. There was no argument. He just left. That was it. He was gone. But that was probably the worst tenant I've ever seen. And the worst. And he paid rent on time, but he was a total psycho. So that was it. It was just I don't know what was wrong with the dude. I really don't know what was wrong with him. And the crazy thing about this story, I'll tell you guys this. We had this really big biker guy. And this really big biker guy, he lived in the other unit that was upstairs. And the really big biker guy, he was the guy who lived there for the longest time. Like, he lived there since I was like 5 years old, and then we moved out when I was about 13. So I've known him, 9 years, close to that. But that big biker guy that was living in the other unit, his name was Frank, I remember him. And this was like a really big guy. Like, this guy worked out, really muscular. He would constantly wear biker clothes, biker jackets, biker cut. He had tattoos all over himself. The only place he did not have tattoos was his face. Everywhere else he had tattoos. His body, his, arms, his legs. The only place he didn't have tattoos was his face. But the thing about this guy, Frank, is this guy, if you saw Frank, you would think that this guy's trouble if you saw this guy. Because it's how, he looks like a, scary biker, basically. But the thing about him is he never caused any problems ever. There was no problems ever. He always paid his rent on time. He was clean. He was organized. He was nice. He was friendly. He never, was mean. He was, like, literally the perfect tenant. And that's why it says is that, don't judge a book by its cover, because even though he might appear scary, he was actually, like, the friendliest and, like, the best tenant ever. And, like, the college kid that was in his 20s that seemed like he was a nice guy was actually the worst and the scariest person. But the scary biker was actually the nicest guy. But honestly, I'm actually surprised that Frank never went over to his apartment and just beat the crap out of that guy, because that guy was right next to him, so Frank would have heard that screaming all the time. I'm honestly surprised that Frank didn't go over there and beat the crap out of him, but he must have had a lot of restraint not to do that. But he was a very nice guy. The only thing that was a bit annoying about Frank is that he liked riding his motorcycle around the block, and it would make a lot of noise. But honestly, I'd rather deal with that than deal with all the other tenants that we dealt with. So he was really generally nice guy. And for people wondering, no, Frank was not a criminal. He was not an outlaw biker. He was just like a part of like a biker club, like a legal biker club, like just people that like motorcycle enthusiasts, like to drive around on motorcycles, dress up in biker clothes, basically like that. The funny thing about Frank, you know what he did for a living? He was a Target manager. He was a manager for Target. That's really what he did for a living. So that was I cannot imagine him being a Target manager, but that's what he did for a living. But that was that's what he did. So he was a pretty nice guy. He was not a gangster. But it's not every biker is a gangster. There's plenty of bikers that are just regular people, like to drive around motorcycles. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how you don't judge a book by its cover. It's the point of the story here. You missed my super chat? Oh, I did. I'm sorry, Isaiah. Let me look. He got fired, Bork, because my lazy supervisor, because he one day he was working and he didn't feel like going downstairs to when he was in the office door would automatically lock. And so he was too lazy to open up the door with his key, so he put a cardboard box in front of it when he brought the drawers downstairs, and an employee took a picture of that and he got fired for that. Isaiah, what's your super chat? I can't scroll that far back. What's your question? Just, you don't have to super chat me again. Just ask me, what was it? Hey Patrick, hope you're doing good. I just played Fallout 76. Hey Jacob, did you like it? Thank you for sponsoring my channel for 2.5 years. Who was the worst tenant I had in my rental properties? Personally, I've only had 3 tenants. So I own 2 properties, but I've only had 3 tenants. What is it called? The second property that I have, I had the same people there for close to 2 years. The first property, I've had 2 different tenants. In the first property, my first set of tenants, they were the worst ones. Because the reason that they were the worst ones is they were and I'll tell this story really quickly because I told this story a few times. They were millionaires, the people who were renting from me. And you're probably wondering why millionaires would rent out my home, but the reason that they were renting out my home is because they had like a roofing business that was they were originally from Portland, Oregon, and they were moving out east. And so they were moving. They expanded their operations from like Oregon into I think it was Wyoming, and then it was Montana, and then they kept going east until eventually they got to my state in the Midwest. And they had like over 100 employees. I know that they had a lot of people working for them, so these people had money. They had buildings in several states, and they were the founders. The husband and the wife were the founders of the company, so they were the heads of it. Now, about these people is the reason that these people were really annoying is because they constantly would be late on the rent every single month, and every single time I would text a lady and I would ask her, what's going on? Is everything okay with the property? I wasn't even like rude about it. I would just ask her, hey, is everything okay? You missed the payment and stuff like that. That's what I would typically say. She would always say the same thing to me. She would say to me, oh, I'm on a business trip in Montana. I'll pay it when I get back. That's what she would always say to me. And it was so frustrating. I had to wait like a week, 2 weeks sometimes to get paid. And it was like for people that are multi-millionaires, they were trying really hard not to pay rent. And it was like honestly just pissing me off that people could be that cheap. But that was like really annoying that I had these millionaires living in my property and they were trying to basically get out of paying rent. Like it was really making me annoyed. It was really getting me angry. But the thing about that is that those were my first tenants. They were my first tenants, and I didn't know how to handle that situation. So like those were the worst first tenants that I could have had. Honestly, I should have charged them a late fee. I should have done it. I didn't want to do it at that time because they were my first set of tenants, but I honestly should have done it. I should have just charged a late fee because that's ridiculous. That like you cannot you pay rent like 1 to 2 weeks late every single time. It's disgusting. Hey Pro, I hope you're well. Do you have a rough time for when you play Red Dead Redemption 2 again on the channel? I'll have fun. I'll do a lot of the side activities because when I did my first play for Red Dead Redemption 2, I didn't do a lot of the side missions, so I'll do them. Do I think renter's insurance is worth it? You should have renter's insurance because you never know when something can happen. Something can go wrong. Something bad can happen. You could have like a pipe burst, in your property, and water could spill out and destroy your furniture. So you could have something like that happen. And renter's insurance, I don't know where you are, but where I am in the Midwest, it's very cheap. It's very affordable. It's not a problem at all. But I would just have that extra safe peace of mind.
Too many folks about.
Thank you, Thomas Walsh. I posted a chat talking about that every GTA antagonist death felt underwhelming compared to Saints Row 2. Oh, I read that one earlier. Yeah, well, it really depends on, who. Like, GTA 4, I thought had, most of the villains in GTA 4 had pretty satisfying deaths, except, Ray Bacino had, like, the worst death scene in all of GTA 4. Oh, they moved out. The millionaires moved out. But what the millionaires did is they were renting out the property to one of their workers. So one of their workers was living at the property, and they stopped living there, and then they started collecting money from him, and then they were paying me. That's probably one of the reasons they were so late on rent. They were literally they had a worker living at the property. They were charging him rent, and then they were using his rent to pay me. That's what they were doing. It's a long story. If I was explaining more, it'd be like 30 minutes of explaining. It's I talked about it a bunch of times. Basically, they moved out, and then that guy that stayed at the house, he ended up causing a bunch of problems. He couldn't decide on whether he wanted to stay at the house. I tried to work with the guy who was the worker who was living at the house, and he told me he wanted to stay. We wrote up a lease, and then what ended up happening is he told me his wife decided that she wanted to move. And then I found new tenants that wanted to move in. We didn't sign a lease yet, but they were gonna. And then he's like, "Oh, my wife changed her mind. She wants to move back into the property." And I was like, "Okay, fine. All your furniture is there. I'll let you stay here." And then I told that first guy that was about to sign a lease with me that, I got another tenant. He got pissed, and then he's like, "What's the deal? I was gonna sign and everything like that." And I told him, "I'm sorry. I got a tenant who was here already. He has furniture. He decided he wants to stay. It'll be complicated to get him to move out." And then what ends up happening? Then the guy's like, "Oh, my wife changed her mind again." Like the second time, I was like, "Oh my god, Jesus Christ, dude!" Excuse my language, but I was like thinking like that basically. And so he couldn't change his mind. He kept changing his mind constantly, and he ended up moving out. And then I ended up bringing in that other guy who was going to sign originally with me. And that guy, I've had him living at the property for over 3 years now, has not caused problems. Let me see. Trailer 3 will probably most likely drop sometime next month. May 26th is basically my last hope for some. No, Silver Fox, don't listen to those rumors. Those May 26th rumors. We were talking about that earlier. Don't listen to that, dude. There's no proof for it. There is no proof that May 26th. Remember what Take-Two Interactive said? Take-Two Interactive said Rockstar will begin marketing in summer. May 26th is not summer. That's still spring. Summer begins on June 21st. So it's don't believe that, dude. If I showed you one of his live streams, you'll be disgusted. I honestly think he's worse than DSP Gaming. Well, it's the first time I've heard of this channel before. I've never heard of this channel before. I'll definitely look into it. Have I made my money back on the properties in 3 years? No. If you're wondering, have I made enough money back to match one of the properties with both properties? Let me think. I got the second property in March of 24. I rented it out in June of 2024. So it was just trying to calculate it all in my head right now. That's about 30, 60,000. And then I'm just trying to calculate the other ones. The other one, it's No, I have not made the money back for it to match one of either of the properties. Both the properties, they have generated me enough money to match half of one of the properties. But not to cover one fully. Did I ever turn to my parents for advice? No. I didn't even tell my parents about the drama that was going on because my mom would get really... If my mom found out about that drama going on my rental property, she'd get really stressed out. And so I didn't end up telling my mom about that. Do you need to sell anything, Brandon? Am I still doing lore videos? Yeah. We'll do another one on San Andreas, but the non-boys. They did, Zach, yeah. I liked Rick, for the most part, Minion Dave. Will I do a Hell Let Loose stream on June 6th? On June 6th, we're gonna do Brothers in Arms, the other one, the other Brothers in Arms game. What game is it? Crap, there's a second Brothers in Arms game, I forget the name of it. We'll do it on that one. Where did I get the capital by those properties? YouTube. Oh, I don't know anything about the new Halloween game. Earned in Blood, that's it, yeah. What you said reminded me, there was a lot of Ukrainian collaborators from World War II in the town next to my friend in Canada, those that didn't get sent back to the USSR, now it's just mostly normal Ukrainian town. That is true. There was actually a lot of Ukrainian Nazi collaborators that actually settled in Canada after World War II. There was this one a Ukrainian collaborator. He was like a concentration camp guard. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He was like an infamous like guard. He was responsible for numerous murders. Like, he was a really brutal guy in a concentration camp, and he ended up escaping to Canada after the war. He never faced justice for his crimes. I would have to look the guy up again, but I know there was like a couple years ago, my dad was so angry like a couple years ago that he had that he was screaming. Basically, that's how angry my dad was. He was so angry at the Canadian government because the Canadian government, they brought in that scumbag that was like they were saying that this guy is like a Ukrainian freedom fighter, and the guy was actually a member of the Galician SS, the Galician Waffen SS, and like it's like I don't know how the Canadian government can be that stupid. You invite somebody to speak in your parliament and you don't even do research on who this person was. Like, it was like such a disaster. And my dad was so angry about that. He was so offended about that, so angry. I was pretty pissed about that too, but my dad was just really, really angry when that happened. I would like to see a new Sniper Elite, but I hope they do Korea. James is selling moonshine. Let me join his posse then here. Okay. If I have time, Extreme, I will. There's actually a new movie that I want to see. I saw like a trailer for it earlier this week. It was about the Battle of the Bulge. It's like a new World War II movie. Clint Eastwood's son plays in it. It looked actually really good. Renter's insurance, I think, is worth it. You never know, something can happen. You know, something could break into your apartment, something could flood, you know, something can always go wrong. Oh, it's okay, Uncle Stu, I'm not hungry anymore. Yeah, that one I remember. That episode. That cartoon is so 1990s, by the way. It's like if I have nostalgia for the 1990s, I watch that cartoon, Mario. During 9/11, my mom didn't wake me up when I was supposed to go to school, and I slept through a lot of it. And then I woke up, and my mom was just watching in the living room on the news all day. Rugrats, yeah.
You got a good boss.
Well, yeah, wounded soldiers were fighting in the Battle of Berlin, Demigod. Yeah, I want to do Vice City Stories. Yeah, I do want to do a playthrough of that. AI-generated art and videos needs to be taken seriously. People could have used that to harass others. You are right on that, you 2012, 100% right. And the thing about AI art is that AI art has gotten so good that it can be difficult to tell if that's actually like made by a person or made by AI. And what can happen is that person can then sell it and say, "Oh, I painted this," or something like that, or "I drew this." Yes, there's Young Washington is the movie coming out. No, I didn't see the Michael Jackson movie. Oh wait, I'm driving? Okay.
You there! Hold up! Stop that wagon now! You're done now!
Is the real life Simcoe as psychotic as the one from Turn? To a degree. John Graves Simcoe in real life was not as, you know, gruesome and psychopath. Like, John Simcoe is like almost a psychopath in Turn. But Simcoe was in charge of trying to find American spies. That's what he was in charge of specifically. Now, about that scene of Hewlett where Simcoe had that showdown with him, there's no proof that any of that happened. I know that Hewlett was like an actual officer that was in Setauket, but there is no proof that he had some kind of huge fallout with him and all of that stuff, or that Simcoe shot like a hostage right outside of the church. Like that scene is like made up. That didn't happen. But the about Simcoe is Simcoe and his Queen's Rangers. What they did was there was like a courthouse. Or I think it was a courthouse that was like housing wounded like American soldiers in it. And what Simcoe's soldiers did was they went into the building and they basically killed everybody who was wounded. They just bayoneted all of them. And then what Simcoe's soldiers actually did was they went into the town and they held like bloody bayonets and they told people, like, the American civilians, like, this is the blood of your countrymen. That's what one of the soldiers said. So that's a war crime that Simcoe's men did. That is actually confirmed and recorded. I'm surprised Turn didn't show that. Simcoe is disliked in America. The thing about John Graves Simcoe is that Simcoe is a hated person in America. Like, Americans hate him, but he's seen as a hero in Canada. he's seen as like one of the founders of Canada. He was like one of the early founders of Canada, like as So that's basically about Simcoe. He's seen as a hero in Canada, but he's seen as an absolute villain in America. Let me start with Posse again. I gotta play Gun one day. GTA 4, I'll do the GTA 4 stream on June 7th. That's my birthday. Oh wait, other one. Well, no, they did it primarily because they wanted to capture the Polish First Lady. That's what that mission was about, Gunner. The thing about the NSO are like a weird faction in SOCOM 3 because the New Slavic Order, they are basically like an ultra-nationalist communist, you know, terrorist group. That's basically what they are. It's kind of weird. They're ultra-nationalist, but they're communist at the same time too. So they're basically like a blend of like they're a blend of like fascism and communism put together. Like if you look at the NSO's like headquarters in SOCOM 3, like they have like these medieval like, you know, Polish knight armor that's like on display. Like I don't know if you saw that in that mission, but that's so like they're ultra nationalistic, but at the same time too is they are they're communists. So a lot of people think that like Makarov was based on the NSO in Call of Duty because of the NSO's leader. He looks a little similar to Makarov. He wears like a black leather jacket. So like some people think that that's where Makarov was inspired from. And also like the Middle Eastern dictator, the Algerian dictator that invades like Morocco. You know, you have that too. So that some people think that inspired Al-Assad. And I don't know if you've seen the first mission in SOCOM 1. The first mission in SOCOM 1, you are boarding like a Russian cargo ship that's in the middle of the Bering Strait of like Russian terrorists that are on board smuggling weapons. And that is the first thing that you're doing in the first mission in SOCOM 1. And so a lot of people think that that's... And the ship gets sunk at the end of the mission too. So a lot of people think that that's what inspired Call of Duty. Did you know the United States bombed North Korea during the Korean War? Of course. Yes, there was a war. Can you do Saints Row 2 on your birthday? I could do a poll. Or maybe I might not be able to do Saints Row 2 because I don't have my costume here. My Saints Row 2 costume, I don't have it. So we might end up doing GTA 4 then. Because I'm visiting family right now. AI deepfakes could also have the potential to start a war if they get into the wrong hands. Last thing we need is a fake video of you clickbaiting GTA 6. Well, I've already been deepfake. It's already happened to me before. There was this guy who like pretends to be me on GTA, and he just uploads like videos of like wearing my GTA outfit with the hockey mask and just griefing people and adding like my commentary to it, making fun of people, but that's not actually me. That's just like an AI voice of me. So like it's like people are losers. People do stuff like that.
Don't do this. You better not disappoint me, feller. Jesus.
I see your new profile picture, Minion Dave. Hey, what's up, dude? My night's been good. How are you, Mr. Fug?
Untie me now. Hey.
Is there a system in the U.S. where you can receive money from the government if you don't have a job and you are unemployed? We have something similar in the UK called benefits. Well, we have two things. We have welfare and then we have unemployment, which they're both different things. Welfare is meant to help people that are poor, but unemployment is meant to help people that cannot find a job.
I'll wriggle out of this, and when I do...
I was called an AI lover because my first name has an A and an I. What?
You little prick.
People will believe conspiracies about anything, Stevic. That's the thing.
Damn it.
No, I didn't bother Spectra Storm.
Hell. You signed your life away, you know.
Grok, Grok can be helpful when you're trying to, like, find something really quickly. Like, if I type into Grok, and I ask Grok, like, for example, like, what is the name of that movie where that character does this or that? Like, Grok will find it really quick and instantly. So when you need to research something, Grok is helpful for that. But, like, when it comes to pictures and stuff like that, it kind of sucks. No, Spaz 12 is a great shotgun, Jolly.
This one bites.
Was zombies scary to play when it first came out? It wasn't, I wouldn't say that zombies was scary. It was more of like, it was more creepy. Yeah, Spaz 12 is a great gun. I'd rather get Modern Warfare 3 remastered than Modern Warfare 4 2026. They remastered the first original twos and left the third game in the dust. I would be for that too. We might get both, but I would really like to see a DMZ mode come back, because like people are saying DMZ 2 is coming out, but there's not really proof for it. But I'd still like to see it. But I hope that Modern Warfare 4 is good this time, because like it was really bad. Modern Warfare 3 was really bad. No, we're in a private session, George. Do I have you added? The Shining Path. I've never heard of these guys before. This sounds like a terrorist group. The Shining Path. What is this, like a communist group? Yeah, it's a communist group. I was not surprised by it. What is with the Mojang Bedrock comments I keep seeing on polls? I don't know what you're talking about, Princess Isabella. I don't even know what that is. I appreciate the super chat. Can somebody explain to me what she's talking about? I don't know what that is. Let me invite you here. Did you know that Shining Path was founded by a Comrade Guzman, who was a former college professor? He was a staunch Maoist and considered China and the USSR revisionist. A former college professor creating a communist group. I'm actually not surprised by that. There was actually a patch for the first time in 3 years the other day on DMZ, and that was getting rid of some of the hackers. I think the reason that they did that was because it's most likely that DMZ 2 is coming out this year. And if DMZ 2 comes out this year, they don't want the last DMZ game to be filled with hackers. It would make their game look really bad. So that's probably why they are taking action against it. Is Tony Cipriani a full Italian or half Italian? Well, Tony Cipriani is an American, but his heritage, he's 100% Italian on it. The thing about it is that the Italian American mafia, they're not really Italians. They're Americans, because their culture is American. The Italian American mafia doesn't even know how to speak Italian. They don't. Most of them don't know how to speak Italian. They talk so much about Italy, but then they barely know anything about the country.
You're a fine operator, eh? Go on then.
I don't think so. Praise the Dawn, because Modern Warfare 3 had a perfect ending. It did. I think it was a great ending. Or Makarov dying.
By the way, did you ever meet Phineas Moss? Nice boy he is. Fine lad. Be a real shame if he got himself hanged. It's murder he's up on. Murder charges. It's bad because I reckon he did do it, but I also reckon the bastard he murdered deserved killing. Well, I know this because it was his brother he murdered, and whereas you wouldn't find a kinder fella than Phineas, Declan was a real sack of shit. I won't bore you with the details.
NSO Soldier? God, I need a cigarette. I'm bored out of my mind. Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. You're a SOCOM fan, I can tell right there. You're a SOCOM fan. That's from... I bet you loved it when I did a playthrough of that mission. But the thing is that the translation in that scene is actually wrong though. He doesn't say, "God, I need a cigarette. I'm bored out of my mind." He said, "Boże, ja potrzebuję papierosa. Nudzę się tutaj na śmierć." That's what he says. And in Polish, that the game translates it as, "God, I need a cigarette. I'm bored out of my mind." But what he's really saying is he's saying, "God, I need a cigarette." That part of the translation is correct, but then the other part where he says, "I'm bored out of my mind," what he's really saying is he's saying, "I'm dying of boredom." Nudzę się tutaj na śmierć, that means I'm dying of boredom. So nudzę is I'm bored, and śmierć means death. So basically, nudzę się tutaj na śmierć, I'm dying of boredom. That's what he was basically saying, but yeah. I think the funniest dialogue in that game is the other two guys in the house, where the one guy's like, I hope those idiots didn't go out smoking again. Like, I thought, like, when he says that, that was like, and it's really funny because they're literally smoking on top of a fuel depot. That's what's kind of funny. I have a bad day on last Saturday. Oh, what happened, Brandon? But thank you, NSO Soldier. I'm assuming you really liked my my SOCOM 3 playthrough then. I do think the Poland part of SOCOM 3 was my favorite part of the game. It was. I always liked that part of the game the most. Oh crap. No, no. Damn, I shot it once, it's still alive. God damn. But you like, why use a scope? Well, you can't have this gun without a scope. You need a scope on it. There aren't cougars in missions. Pearl, there was an activist who spoke out against the Shining Path. Her name is Maria Morano, and the group killed her during a peace march and blew up her body with dynamite as a warning. And let me I want to look something up about the Shining Path group, because is the Shining Path funded by Venezuela? Let's see. They are funded primarily by narco trafficking. Venezuela actually forms a lot of these funds a lot of these groups. It said they weren't funded by Venezuela. I'm honestly surprised they aren't, because Venezuela funds a lot of these groups. Have you ever played with Puther before? I don't think we've ever been in the same lobby together, but Puther has been by my streams a lot of times, so he comes by my streams occasionally. I haven't seen him in a couple of months, but he comes by my streams and says hi occasionally. But, NSO Soldier, if you're still here, are you a fan of the SOCOM series? I don't know why Minecraft players are so toxic. Because... I'll tell you why. Oh, crap. God. Again? Okay, thank you for shooting it. Here's the thing is, the players that are toxic on Minecraft... Am I active on Patreon? Yes. The toxic players on Minecraft, they're not really Minecraft players. They only actually bought the game specifically just to be toxic. Because Minecraft is that type of game where you could spend like months building something, and then you could have some idiot just come into your lobby and just destroy everything. And that's, some people just specifically downloaded the game just for that, just to enrage other people and ruin their experiences. Some people are just like that. Yeah, and I only played 3, but I remember that scene. It was my favorite. Well, I will play the other SOCOM games. You want to see them on the channel. I also played SOCOM 1 and 2 before. But yeah, SOCOM 3 is my favorite one in the series. It is my favorite one. About the SOCOM games, I think that I'm the largest YouTuber that's played SOCOM. Am I? Because whenever I look up SOCOM videos on YouTube, I never see anybody with more than 100,000 subscribers playing that game ever. I think I'm not trying to show off or anything here, but I think I am the largest channel that's played SOCOM on YouTube. Am I? Because I cannot find any other channels that are as big as me that have played SOCOM before. I looked it up before and it says you are. Where did you look that up? During World War II, how did the U.S. decide which troops to send to the each theater of war? Well, they decided that the army would be fighting Germany in North Africa, and the Marines would be fighting the Japanese because crap here. The Marines are an amphibious force, and so they thought it made much more sense to use them against the Japanese. However, though, the U.S. Army did fight in the Pacific, so it wasn't just the Marines. People think that only the Marines fought in the Pacific, but the U.S. Army did fight in the Pacific, but they didn't fight in the island campaign. They fought in the Philippines when the Philippines got liberated. That was the U.S. Army that came in, and it was also in Papua New Guinea. The battles that were there, that was the U.S. Army against Japan. But also, hang on. And I just want to look something up just to make sure I'm not saying something false. Okay, so about this, one of the stupidest, one of the stupidest things that the U.S. military did during World War II, I just looked it up just to be certain that I wasn't making a mistake, but one of the stupidest things the U.S. military did during World War II is it was such a stupid thing. It was such a dumb thing to do. I don't know what they were thinking with this, but what they basically did, and when I tell you guys this, some people are gonna think that I'm joking because of how stupid it is. Like you cannot make this up. It was like one of the stupidest decisions the U.S. made during World War II. What they did was, and let me get away from these wolves because they're getting annoying here. Do you know what blackmailing means? Threatening to release some information on somebody unless they do what you want, basically. Okay, so the unit was called the U.S. 7th Infantry Division. And about the U.S. 7th Infantry Division. These guys, these guys were training to fight against the Germans in North Africa. So when the North Africa campaign was going on, the 7th Infantry Division was trained specifically in desert warfare. They were trained in the Nevada desert, in desert warfare, to fight against the Germans in North Africa. But guess what the U.S. government did? They lied to the soldiers. They trained in Nevada in the desert, and they lied to those soldiers. They told those soldiers, you're going to be fighting against the Germans in North Africa. But what they did was, those soldiers were not going to be fighting against the Germans in North Africa. Do you know where those soldiers were going to be fighting? They were going to be fighting against the Japanese in Alaska. Because the Japanese invaded Alaskan islands. They invaded the Aleutian Islands during World War II. So just think about this. These soldiers were trained in desert warfare in Nevada. And they sent them over to fight the Japanese in freezing conditions in the Aleutian Islands campaign in winter during World War II. And the story gets even worse. It gets worse because those soldiers, when they came to the Aleutian Islands, were wearing desert gear. They were wearing desert gear on the Aleutian Islands campaign. That's what they were doing, desert gear. And they were wearing desert boots. And those desert boots, when water got into those boots, water would easily get into those boots. And the Aleutian Islands are an island, are a series of islands, and there's a lot of moisture in that area. There's a lot of fog, and what would happen is soldiers' feet would get wet, and they had no way of warming up their feet, and they would get diseases on their feet. They would get trench foot, athlete's foot, and in the worst cases, they would get frostbite, and they actually had to cut off fingers. They had to cut off toenails. So basically that. So they had to cut off entire fingers from their toes. So that's basically what happened. So just think about how stupid that is. And the reason that the U.S. government lied to those soldiers when they told them that they'd be fighting in North Africa is because they were scared that that information would get out and Japanese spies would find out about that, and that the Japanese spies would know that the U.S. was going to attack their post in Alaska. But it's one thing to conceal like the mission, but to train soldiers in desert warfare and then send them over to the Aleutian Islands. The Aleutian Islands, they don't have a lot of trees, so they aren't really like wooded areas, but they have a lot of hills. There's a lot of hills and there's mountains on them. And it's cold. And it's very foggy on those islands. So they train them in desert warfare, which you expect, desert, fields, hills, and stuff like that. But not like something like that, like mountains, freezing cold. And so they trained them to fight in desert warfare, and it was a massive mistake. But that was a stupid thing they did. This sounds like a parody. No, it is very much real. It is very much real because I was watching a documentary about the Aleutian Islands campaigns a couple weeks ago, and I did not know that. I didn't know that. So I knew what the Aleutian Islands campaign was, but I never knew that the soldiers that were sent there were supposed to be going to North Africa and were trained in desert warfare. Like, can you imagine how stupid that is? You train somebody in desert warfare, you give them desert gear, and then you send them to the Alaskan front in World War II. Like that I don't know what the government was thinking with that, but it was a disaster. And in the Alaskan theater during World War II, there was 2 islands that the Japanese had conquered. One of the islands, there was a really big battle on the island, and the Japanese actually launched a huge banzai charge. It was one of the largest banzai charges that the Japanese had actually launched, and the 4,000 Americans died and 2,000 Japanese died. The Japanese garrison on that island was about 2,000 troops, and almost the entire garrison got wiped out. There was only 26 Japanese that survived out of the two. It was like a little bit over 2,000, and only 26 survived, but 4,000 Americans died. It was a pretty brutal battle. The second island, I gotta look up what the name of the second island is, but the second island that the Japanese were on, the Japanese left their installations on the island, so they left their Imperial Japanese flags on the island, they left parts of their military base on the island, and what happened was when the Americans landed on the island, they were paranoid that the Japanese were there still, but the Japanese left. They left, they abandoned the island, but their flags were still there. And because the island has like a lot of fog, it's very foggy on those islands, it's very hard to see in front of you, the Americans would constantly shoot each other. And there was Canadians that came to help too, and there would be a lot of friendly fire between the U.S. and the Canadian forces. And they thought there was Japanese on the island, but there was actually nobody on the island. And 200 Americans died on that island, and not one Japanese soldier died because it's all the friendly fire incidents, because everybody was shooting each other through the fog. It's honestly, when you think about it, sounds like a horror story. Just imagine that, like an abandoned island, and you think the enemy is on the island, but there's really nobody on the island, and there's so much fog you can't see anything in front of you, and you're just constantly shooting your friends. Like that honestly just sounds like a horror movie. Like, I'm honestly surprised there's no movies about that. That would make like a good World War II movie. But that was but that's like a horrible thing that actually happened in Alaska. A lot of people don't know about that. That the Japan attacked Alaska during World War II, and that was pretty creepy battle that happened during World War II. Let me see here. Oh, I missed a bunch of comments. Let me see. Thank you, Silver Fox. Let me look this up. What was the island with friendly fire incidents in Alaska during World War II? Let's see. What was the name of the island? Kiska Island. It was Kiska Island. It was the They landed in thick fog. Okay, so the battle lasted for 1 day. It was on Operation Cottage is what it was called. 92 people died. 221 wounded. Yeah, it says the landing force is 32 killed, 100 wounded. It said a U.S. destroyer was heavily damaged. So a destroyer hit another destroyer. 71 killed, 47 wounded. Oh my god, this is so horrible. Oh, I think the destroyer hit a Japanese sea mine. I think that's what happened. So they landed on the island, but there was no Japanese soldiers on the island, and there was so much fog on the island that you could not see in front of you. Those islands that are in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, when you typically think of Alaska, you think of like large forests, but the Aleutian Islands are not like that. The Aleutian Islands, they don't have that many trees. A lot of hills. There's some mountains on them, and there's a lot of fog on those islands. Those islands get very foggy. And so that is just scary when you think about that too. Nobody lives on Kiska today. Nobody lives on that island today. But it's that is just creepy. I really want to go to these islands one day. I do. When I visit Alaska, I gotta go to the Aleutian Islands. I gotta see the places where these battles happened. One day I gotta do it. I could do a video on it too. I felt Mafia 3 DLC were enjoyable than Mafia 2. Yeah, I mean the DLCs were longer. They had more content in them, Aaron. First part of my story is we had my brother's wife's birthday, and they had 2 kids. So after we sing happy birthday, then one of her kids went to my dad's garage. We had my brother's wife's birthday. Okay. And then he took one of the paint pans and put it on the floor and lighted it on fire, and then he told us, but we got it out, and my dad told him never go to the garage without a parent. Oh my god. That's horrible, Brandon. Okay. How old was this kid who did this? Oh, I gotta feed this horse, too. His horses. Hey, Suggesta. When did they realize the Japanese had left the island? After 1 day. Oh, that was a long time ago, Spectra. Do you think William Alexander Morgan? I think he did have a high IQ. Yeah.
Well, hey there. It's nice to see you again.
Let's go play some poker here. No, I didn't hear about that, Adrian. I'm still shaking up. I saw your super chat. Brandon, I'm sorry that happened. How do you see Hitler as a war commander? Hitler was the worst general of World War II. Thank you, Deadblood, for the super chat. It's if I had to name the worst general of World War II, it would be Hitler. Like, Hitler had the Sixth Army destroyed in Stalingrad. He had his entire army group obliterated in Operation Bagration. He was like a fool. The thing about Hitler is the one move that Hitler did, where he turned out to be right over his generals, is when Hitler did Blitzkrieg in France. So what he did was he launched a Blitzkrieg campaign in France through Belgium, invaded through Belgium, and then surrounded the French and the British, and he took over France really quickly. And a lot of the German generals told him he couldn't do it, and he did it. And after that, it went to his head, and he thought that he was some kind of military genius. When he was right in one aspect, he was right that would break through and he would be able to surround the French and the British forces, but he was a complete idiot on pretty much everything else. And so, like, Hitler would constantly interfere in the boardroom, and he would tell his generals what to do, and the generals hated that. And a lot of the generals, they said they considered Hitler a corporal, because that was Hitler's rank in World War I, was a corporal. I'll do it. King of the Three. He was 9 years old and said sorry to my dad. Oh, thank you, Brandon, for the super chat. I'm sorry it happened. But Hitler was like an idiot. Hitler was only right in his Blitzkrieg campaign in France that he would be able to break through. He was because the generals told him he couldn't do it, and he said he could do it, and he ended up doing it. So he did correctly predict that tactic would work. But but a lot of other orders he gave were just stupid, and he got entire armies destroyed. So Hitler was an idiot. He was a massive narcissist, and I think that Hitler's stupidest orders during World War II were when he commanded armies not to move. He told armies to stay in place and hold their grounds. Like, armies were never allowed to move. They were never allowed to pull back. He always forced armies to stay in the same positions, and because of that, armies would get surrounded. The Soviets knew exactly where they were, and they would get obliterated and destroyed. What made Buchanan the worst president in U.S. history? James Buchanan? The reason that James Buchanan was the worst president in U.S. history was because he did nothing to prevent the Civil War from happening. So, like, southern states were threatening to secede. They were building up huge armies. He did nothing to stop that. Have you ever noticed that right when the Civil War started, the Confederacy had a large army already ready? That didn't come out of nowhere. That was built up during Buchanan's term. During Buchanan's term, the states were building up large armies, getting ready to secede, and Buchanan did nothing to stop that from happening. That's why he's considered the worst U.S. president in history. Lincoln basically inherited his mess. And a president who allows his country to follow the Civil War has got to be the worst president in history. Thank you, Princess, for the super chat. What's your comment, Arcade? Yeah, I could probably make a video about it on the weekend, Arcade. Well, Woodrow Wilson was definitely a terrible president, but I think Buchanan was the worst, personally, dude. Yeah, 14 Years of Flame. I want to give the game a try, but one thing that I'm worried about the game is I'm worried that the game is going to portray, like, the Chinese nationalists as, like, really bad people, and the Chinese communists as, like, complete heroes. Well, the Swedish were very brutal during the deluge. A lot of Polish people hold him responsible for it, Gunner. Woodrow Wilson was definitely a racist. Why do so many people idolize the Nazi ideology, especially in the West? Well, it's actually the exact same reason on why there is so many young people that are communists. That's the reason. Look, what I will say about this is that if you take a look at both communists and Nazis, it's the same reason that they're both communists and Nazis. The reason people are communists and the reason people are Nazis is the same reason for both groups. Who are the communists? Who are the Nazis? If you look at both groups, who are they? It's always young people. Always young people. Most of the time, most of these neo-Nazis is most young people, like in their 20s. And if you look at the communists, it's almost the exact same thing. It's almost always young people in their 20s. So why are young people attracted to these extremist ideologies so much? The reason for that is because these communists and these Nazi groups, even though it's both far left and far right, they're, complete opposites. They're both extremists. And the thing is that these young people, like the people that are communists and Nazis, a lot of times these people, they grow up in like a broken household. They might not have like a parent around to help them. They might not have any friends. They might be like victims of bullying. And what ends up happening is these people, they feel like alone. They don't feel like they have anybody to talk to. And what these people do is they go on the internet. And when they go on the internet, they go on social media, and then they find these extremist groups, and they start talking to them, and then they get into that, and then they basically get brainwashed into a lot of that stuff. And that's where that stuff basically happens. If you look at the people that are communists and Nazis, those people almost always have some kind of bad upbringing. They always have some kind of bad childhood. There's something bad that happened to them early in their lives, and they fall into these ideologies because they feel like that's the only place where they belong, and then they start believing it, and then they get really brainwashed into that, and then they believe in that ideology. So that's basically how it happens. It's young people that have fallen basically on hard times, and they basically get manipulated, and they fall into this stuff. It's the same thing for communists and Nazis. It's basically, it's where this stuff happens. They fall into this crap when they're young. And when somebody is young and they fall into that propaganda, they can still be like saved, and they can have their lives turned around and changed. But if somebody becomes like, is within like their late 30s and their 40s, and they still have like those Nazi and communist beliefs, they're not going to change. It's like almost impossible to get them to think differently at that point. They're going to be so brainwashed into it that it's impossible to get them to change their view. Okay, here. King High. Oh, I'm not Irish. A lot of people think that I'm Irish because my first name is Patrick, but I'm not Irish. Maybe one day I could play... I play a lot of Mountain Blade Bannerlord off stream, but I could play it one day on the channel. Well, most of the time, the people that are these neo-Nazis and these communists, they don't care for religion. Communists certainly don't. And so it's, folding here. Even my cousin told me you looked Mexico when he saw your videos. What? Can you explain more about the 20th of July plot Operation Valkyrie and the SS and the Wehrmacht relations after the assassination? So basically is the Wehrmacht traditionally had like a standard military salute, but after the July plot, all Wehrmacht officers were expected to do Nazi salute. at that point. So the military became extremely, the Nazis basically were completely Nazified the military. It was pretty much already beforehand, but the Wehrmacht was a little bit less of that control, but then it was put completely under direct Nazi party control, the military, after the Valkyrie plot. And Hitler only staffed the government with basically hardliners, people that were just completely ideologically supportive of him. What a lot of people don't know is that the Valkyrie plot, the Valkyrie plot wasn't just a plan to kill Hitler. It was also a plan to end the war. They had an entire plan on the government that they were going to set up. They had an entire plan on how they were going to set up negotiations. They had an entire list of everything that they were going to do after Hitler died. But the first step was killing Hitler. That was the first step, and that failed. Hitler ended up surviving. And the thing about this is this might sound weird, but the Valkyrie plot actually did help in a way to end the war quicker. Because even though Hitler survived his assassination plot, the reason that the Valkyrie plot helped end World War II faster is because what Hitler did was he fired a lot of really smart generals that could have made the war last longer, and he replaced them with only people that were loyal to the Nazi party. What also happened is the Allies at that point stopped trying to assassinate Hitler. So the Allies had a plan that they were going to insert like a sniper into southern Germany, where Hitler's Berghof was, which was his mansion that was in it's the same one that's in Valkyrie, in the film Valkyrie, and also in Sniper Elite 5. They were planning on having a mountain sniper kill Hitler at his mansion, but there was a lot of assassination plans to kill Hitler, but the reason the Allies gave up on it was because the Allies realized that Hitler was causing Germany to lose the war faster. So they basically said, if we kill Hitler right now, somebody else might take over that's smarter than Hitler, and the war could actually end up lasting longer. So by 1944, Germany had no chance of winning World War II. Germany could not win World War II in 1944. They were done. They were lost. The war was lost for them already. The only thing that Germany could do is they could just delay the defeat. That was the only thing they could do. They could not actually win the war in 44. It's impossible. It's like you have a better chance of winning the lottery than Germany has winning the war in 1944. They didn't have the resources anymore. They didn't have the manpower anymore. They didn't control the same amount of territory. They were being boxed in from Italy, France, and the East. So Germany had no chance. But the Allies knew if Hitler got killed, that it was that somebody else could be appointed that was actually a lot smarter, and that the war could last longer. So they knew that Hitler was making a lot of stupid decisions. Hitler's stupid orders were causing entire armies to be destroyed. And so because of that, they knew if they kept him around, that Germany would end up losing the war quicker. So that's why Operation Valkyrie actually helped end the war quicker. Even though it didn't succeed in killing Hitler, it was because Hitler had basically appointed so many people that were just loyal to him and weren't necessarily as smart. And Hitler was taking more control of the military. You born in 94 before 16-bits era's ending. Huh. Yeah, I was born in 1994. Thank you, Dead Blood. Hey, Professional, I've been enjoying your videos and your SOCOM 3 videos, and I can't wait to see you do a new lore video and play new games this year. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for the sponsoring my channel. Well, the thing about this is I get asked a lot of times. A lot of people oftentimes ask me, what if Hitler never attacked the Soviet Union? Could Germany have won the war? And here's the answer. If Germany never attacked the Soviet Union, could they have won the war? It's entirely possible they could have. But here's the thing is, it is impossible for Germany to not have attacked the Soviet Union. That situation is impossible. The reason that situation is impossible is because Hitler's plan from the start was always to invade the Soviet Union. He was obsessed with Lebensraum, which Lebensraum in German means living space. He talked all about it in Mein Kampf, his propaganda book. So Hitler basically believed that Slavic people that live in Eastern Europe, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, the Balkans also, he believed they were inferior to Germans. And he believed that that land should belong to Germans. and he thought that Eastern Europe should be living space for Germans to basically populate and colonize. That was his plan. And so his plan from the start was always to invade the Soviet Union, invade the East. Hitler was never going to consider not invading the Soviet Union. His plan was always to invade the Soviet Union, always from day one. That was always his plan. And so when people say, what if Hitler never invaded the Soviet Union? It's impossible. That whole situation is impossible because he always planned on invading the Soviet Union. There was never a situation where he wouldn't invade the Soviet Union. The only way that Germany would not have invaded the Soviet Union during World War II is if he had somebody else leading Germany besides Hitler. That's the only way that Germany would not have invaded the Soviet Union. It was always going to invade it under Hitler. So there was never a chance when Hitler wasn't going to invade the Soviet Union. A lot of German generals told Hitler, they told him, don't invade the Soviet Union. They said it was a bad idea. They said our logistics are going to get bogged down. The Soviet Union is too large to conquer. There's too many people there. But Hitler was basically saying, oh no, look, when the Soviets invaded Finland, they got destroyed. So now it'll be easy. He thought that because the Soviets got destroyed in the Winter War so badly, he thought that they would win. But the Soviets ended up winning the Winter War. Even though they got obliterated in the Winter War, they ended up winning because they outnumbered the Finns so much. And the Soviets could just keep throwing person after person against the Finns. The Soviets could have factories behind the Ural Mountains, and they could just basically send all their tanks on trains to the front line. The German planes couldn't reach that far. They couldn't reach past the Ural Mountains and blow up all the Soviet factories. The Soviet Union had a massive industrial power. So it's very different to defend versus attacking. And that's the thing is, Russia historically, if you look at Russian history historically, whenever other countries have invaded Russia historically, they have gotten obliterated over time. They usually at the start, whenever other countries invade Russia historically, they have a really good advance. They go in really far into Russia, and then after a couple years, they just cannot, their logistics kill them, their supply lines. They can't, control it that well. The winters kick in and it gets bad. And this has happened numerous times in history. It's happened to the Polish. When the Polish invaded Russia in 1683, they held Moscow for 2 years, but then they couldn't hold it. And then their logistics and their supplies were bad, and then the Polish got kicked out. The French, the same thing. The Germans in World War II. The only country that was successful in defeating Russia on the Eastern Front was Germany in World War I. And the only reason that Germany defeated Russia in World War I is because of the Russian Civil War. That was the only reason that they ended up defeating Russia, because they were tied in their own civil war. But here's the thing is, even whenever countries have invaded Russia, they always get defeated and they get destroyed. However though, when Russia has invaded other countries throughout history, it gets destroyed. So that's the thing about Russia, is Russia might be good at defending their land historically, but they're not the best at attacking. And so Russia's invaded numerous countries throughout history, and they have had massive setbacks. When Russia invaded Poland in 1920, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. They got obliterated. When Russia invaded Finland in 1939, they got obliterated. When Russia invaded Afghanistan, they got obliterated. It was pretty bad for them too. And then, you have the current modern war too as well. So that's the thing about this. It's very different to defend versus attacking. So the Russians historically have been good at defending, but they have not been as good as attacking. Then why did they have the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? The whole purpose of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, it was to buy Germany time. That was the whole purpose of it. Hitler was going to invade the Soviet Union from the start, but he signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact because he wanted to defeat the Western Allies first. That was basically it. He wanted to knock Poland out, and if France responded, he wanted to get rid of France. And then he would turn his attention to the Soviets. That was basically what the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was. What are the Mongols? The Mongols, yeah, the Mongols probably held Russia for the longest. They did. Well, Bolivar would have hated them, Gunner. You know what I don't understand? Like these like far left groups that exist in like Latin America, these guys, they all worship Simon Bolivar. And for people that don't know who Simon Bolivar is basically the George Washington of Latin America. He is a massive hero in most Latin American countries. They see him as a hero because he liberated Latin America from the Spanish. So he led campaigns against the Spanish. But there are so many of these far left groups that idolize Simon Bolivar. They see him as like the greatest hero ever. But what they don't, Simon Bolivar was not a socialist. He was not a communist. That term didn't even exist when he was alive. And so Simon Bolivar, he was supported a republic. That's what he supported. Simon Bolivar would have hated these people. He would have hated all these communists. He would have despised them. But you have like the Cubans and the Venezuelans, and you have people in Bolivia, like a lot of like, you know, Nicaragua, like you have a lot of like very far left countries that they admire and look up to Simon Bolivar so much, but they don't even realize Simon Bolivar would have hated them. Okay. I'm doing pretty bad here. This will be my last hand. Damn, nothing. Okay. Well, yeah, that is true. The U.S. had spent basically 30% of its missiles in Iran. That is true, and those missiles take about 3 to 5 years to rebuild. So that is true that the U.S. has spent a lot of money on this Iran war. It's not and I'm an American. I don't like saying this, but it's not going good for us. It's not. We should have never gotten involved. We should have never gotten involved in this dumb war. But it's Yeah, well, that is true. Also, super fan. You guys remember what I said in February? Right when this Iran war started, you know what I said? I said that this Iran war is going to be America's Ukraine. That's what I said. And I said at that time, this war is not going to last for a month. This is going to last for a long time. And I was completely right on that. I called it. I called it that it was going to be disaster. When will you replay Red Dead Redemption 2 on the channel? I don't know, dude. I don't want to give you an exact date, but I do want to play it before GTA 6 comes out. So I got about 6 months. So somewhere in that time, we're going to play it. Yeah, I'll try to do Yakuza 3 also this year. You know, what I might do about Yakuza is I might save it until Christmas time, because that might be better. Because does Yakuza 3 take place in Christmas, does it? Because I know the other Yakuza games take place in Christmas. So if it takes place in Christmas, that might be like a perfect holiday game to play. I don't know anything about that, Xerxes. Rockstar never sends anyone early copies, so I'm not going to get it. Yakuza 3 takes place over 2 years. Huh. Well, this war is affecting everyone negatively, Alpha. Everyone. Well, they do see it, but like, look. Here's what I will say. America is not a perfect country, but to compare America to the Spanish Empire, like the Spanish Empire had, you know, what the Spanish Empire did, like literally, like the atrocities the Spanish Empire did in like Latin America. To compare America to that, I know. Yes, I know people are going to tell me the CIA did coups in Latin America. I get that. I know the CIA did some messed up things in Latin America. But yes, you can make the argument the United States has done some pretty evil, messed up things in Latin America. But to say that the United States is the new Spanish Empire, you know, no. Like the Spanish Empire was very cruel, very very brutal, and a lot of the things that they've done in Latin America, and I think that when these like far left groups say America's a new Spanish Empire in Latin America, I think that that's way too much. What games are currently lined up for playthroughs right now? Right now, what I'm gonna be doing next is I'm gonna be doing a funny video. We're gonna do like a single video. It's gonna be a playthrough, so like a single video and a playthrough. We're gonna do the Mind's Eye DLC. So you know the Mind's Eye story DLC, you know, and people are gonna be like, oh god, no, in the comments, not that game. But we're gonna come back to it. It's gonna be like a funny video, and the name of the video is gonna be like really funny. It's gonna be something like I came back to this terrible game to play the DLC. That's what I think I'll make like the title of the video or something like. It's gonna be like a funny video where I try to basically torture myself by playing the story DLC and stuff.
I need a lawman.
Uh,
Help! Someone help! What the blazes?
yeah, Mind's Eye did have a story DLC. Yeah, I could look into it, Zach. I just can't give you an exact date. I have no idea what even is this game. Mind's Eye? Mind's Eye is a disaster. It's a really bad game. And the thing is, I felt really stupid because I told you guys on the channel that I thought Mind's Eye would be a good game. Like, I feel so ashamed of myself that I said that. Because I actually did believe that Mind's Eye would be a good game. I did think that. Because I was like, Leslie Benzies is working on this. He worked on all the GTA games. There's no way he could F it up. Like, I was like thinking like that. I had too much faith in Leslie Benzies, and it turned into a complete disaster. Oh, congratulations to your sister, Visionary. I hope she has a good graduation. Nah, it's not. That's not on him, Gunner. Is he and the thing about that is I think his name is Hernandez, right? The guy who plays in he the actor in Mind's Eye and Mafia 3 about him. Even though Mind's Eye failed as a game, he did a pretty good job in that game. I mean, don't you guys agree that he did a pretty good job as like voice acting in that game? Like he didn't do bad. Like all the roles that he had, like the facial animations, the voice acting, I think he did pretty fine when it came to like doing his lines and everything like that in in Mind's Eye. I don't think he did a bad job at all. So if anything, that helped him, I guess, his career a little bit, because they saw at least he has good acting. But it's not his fault that the game, went bad. It was just he still did everything he could, so it's not really blamed on the actor, but he does have talent as an actor. Oh yeah, Call of Duty Ghost doesn't deserve the hate. Mind's Eye made me lose my mind. Well, yeah, that's why Stalin was at least smarter than Hitler, because Stalin did stopped killing his generals. Stalin stopped let his generals actually plan, where Hitler would interfere with his generals constantly. Well, look, W Fen King. The thing I will say is that a lot of Americans, we don't support all this world police and a lot of this stuff. Doing a lot of this stuff around the world. I certainly don't. I wish that we would stay out of other countries' affairs. I wish we would stop sending money to other countries. I'm sick of sending money to other countries. I'm sick of getting involved in other conflicts. I'm sick of getting involved in the conflict in Europe. I'm sick of getting involved in the conflict in the Middle East. I think that we should just focus on our own country and just stop getting involved in the affairs of other countries. Personally, uh, let's see here. It's like seeing Al Pacino in Adam Sandler movie. The actor wasn't that bad. Yeah. Uh, do you think the Spanish would have won against the Aztecs without the help of their native allies? No. The native allies helped the Spanish so much in that conflict. No, I don't think they would have won. Do you think GTA 6 will have sports activities? Oh yeah, definitely will. As Tupac Shakur said, we have money for wars but cannot feed the poor. Huh. That's a good line. What does Tony mean when he says "stay with your own people"? It's a racist comment. He's basically saying is don't date people of other races. That's essentially what Tony is saying, or he's saying specifically don't even date non-Italians. That's what he's saying in The Sopranos when he says that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it, Ira Hiro.
Could I please get some assistance? Good God.
Not saying you're wrong, but people from that region would have a disfavorable view of the U.S. regardless. Well, yeah. Well, I agree with you, Zach. Is sometimes there is like massive amounts of anti-American propaganda out there, because the thing is,
Holy shit.
if America gets involved in a conflict, it gets hate on. If America doesn't get involved in a conflict, it gets hate on. So sometimes you can't win with some people. So I do agree with you that there are times like when other countries will expect America to do something when something is going on, like they won't actually do anything themselves, they won't actually help, but then they get pissed off at America like that. I know in this current Iran war, for example, the Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, like those two countries, including Israel, have been pushing America heavily to attack Iran. Like they've wanted America heavily to attack Iran, and then when the Iran war started, they just basically all ran and left America to deal with it the most. So like literally is that was it. Like Saudi Arabia and the UAE and also Israel, they all expect America to basically just fight Iran all on their own, and like they're not even helping really. So that's basically what I'll say about that. Is they pushed America into it, and now they're not even helping in this situation. So they expect us to do everything. So I do agree with you that there are countries out there that like no matter what you do, countries will like just hate on America, and that's that's what I'll say about that. What's a lie, Swag? Uh, what's the most favorable of the Mafia games, Pro? My favorite Mafia game? I think Mafia the Old Country. I like it just because the Sicilian setting. Uh, well, specifically on what, Swag? Why would Saudi Arabia and the UAE push the war on Iran? Because they don't like Iran. Like Iran is a Shia. Excuse me if I'm wrong on that. And the rest of the Middle East is mostly Sunni. And so there's a religious conflict there. And Iran is in a conflict with Saudi Arabia where they are supporting proxies. So Saudi Arabia supports their own proxies, for example, in Yemen, and then Iran supports their own proxies in Yemen as well, and they fight each other. So Saudi Arabia and Iran have fought each other with proxy wars, with all proxy conflicts. Like the Iranians support the Houthis in Yemen, and then Saudi Arabia I know supports the other faction. I forget the other faction's name. So that was well, Swag, look, you're a subscriber and you're a friend of mine. You can have your view, but I'm also have the right to have my own view. I just personally think that this whole conflict is stupid. That's just my view on it. Hope you respect my opinion and respect yours, but I just think this whole conflict is just dumb and idiotic. I don't think it should have happened, but that's just my view. And I have read about it a bit. Iran supports various terror groups. Oh, there's no doubt about that. I 100% agree with you. Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. There's no doubt about that. I 100% agree with that. I have a friend who lives in Iraq. He tells me horror stories about how Iran supports all these militias that terrorize his country. But even though Iran is like a state sponsor of terrorism, I don't want a war of Iran. That's basically just my view of it. So like, I don't want a war of Iran, and it's been going almost 3 months at this point now. So Iran is definitely an imperialist country. I agree with you. Well, look, Swag. I will tell you, we are for the most part on our own, because if you look, Swag, like look, uh, even if you make the argument that like we need to get involved in Iran and all of this other stuff, if you look at Saudi Arabia and you look at the United Arab Emirates, those countries, what are they doing to help? What are the Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates doing in this war to help? They're not doing anything. They're literally not doing anything. They expect the U.S. to do everything. And Israel, while you might make the argument, was a little bit more aggressive in it also, is they're letting America do the majority of the fighting too. They're not helping as much too in this. So that's basically what I'll say, is that these countries pushed America to get involved in this conflict, and now they're not doing anything to help. So like they got us into it, and now they're basically not doing anything to help. Should Iran have a nuke? I don't want anyone to have a nuke. I don't think countries should have those. But the thing is that attacking a country like Iran is they're going to build a nuke at this point now, because of what happened here. They're going to do it at this point now. Thank you, Isaiah, for the super chat. Let me see here. Well, no, I'm not look, I don't want to get into an argument about this. It's just I want to stay away from the political drama on the channel. But if you go into the 1990s, for example, in the 1990s, they have been saying that Iran is going to build a nuke since the 1990s. So like if you can find videos from the 1990s where politicians are saying that Iran is going to build a nuke within a year. Like literally from the 1990s. And they've been saying that every couple years, constantly. And with what happened with the Iraq war, where they said, oh, Iraq had WMDs, we got to go in, we got to stop it. And then it turned out to be nothing. And we basically, started a war for nothing. That's why I'm skeptical of this stuff. Because when I see people in the government, pulling crap like this, that's essentially my perspective on it. So you can see these people have been wrong in the past. The same people that are telling us that Iran has a nuke are the same people that have told us that Iraq had nukes, and it didn't. So that's why I don't support this stuff. I don't want to get involved in other countries' affairs. And the way I personally see it is, if Israel is so threatened by Iran, and they think that Iran is such a threat to them, then they should fight Iran. But they should do it on their own and without America's support. That's basically what I'll say about that. If they feel so threatened by Iran and they think that Iran is going to attack them, then they should go and do it, but do that on their own. Don't drag America into the war. Don't take American money, because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of sending money to other countries. I don't want to get involved in other countries' affairs, and that's exactly what's happening here. Are they coming to our country and helping us? Are other governments coming to our country and helping us? Are they sending money to our country? No, they're not. We're just sending money to them, and instead it's just causing us problems, and we're getting dragged into conflicts. That's why I see it. That's why it's important we should have access to their centrifuges, which they won't let us. Why wouldn't they let us if they have nothing to hide? Swag, let me actually tell you something. Do you know that in the 1960s, in the 1960s, the United States actually sent nuclear weapons inspectors to Israel? Do you know that? And what happened was Israel actually showed America fake nuclear sites. Like they told, oh look, we don't have a nuclear bomb. And they lied to the American government. Kennedy was the president at the time. Kennedy was furious about that. And Kennedy basically said, they lied to me about that. And Israel had a nuclear weapon. And Israel, every single time Israel is asked, do you have a nuclear weapon? They won't confirm or deny it, when it's obvious that they do. So that's when you, I'll say about that too. About Israel too with that. So, like, I don't want to get involved in these countries' affairs. I'm not a defender of Iran. Iran is a terrorist state. I fully understand it. It's a theocracy. It's a psychotic religious dictatorship. The only thing I'm saying is I'm a non-interventionist. I don't want to get involved in other countries' affairs. And if Israel is so concerned that Iran is going to attack them, then go and fight them. But keep my country out of it. And I don't want to send any money over there, too. They should just do it. Do it on their own. And yes, Israel might have, like, gotten involved in this too. They might have, helped bomb Iran too. But the amount that they have done compared to what we have done is minimum. Let me see here. Who's this? Man. Man. Well, what happens if Iran nukes Israel or UAE? What if the North Korea nukes Seoul? Should we just stay here and chill? Well, North Korea already has nukes. But no, if that happened, that would be drastic measures. Like that would be like a completely different situation, but that hasn't happened. But the thing is that if Iran was not building a nuclear weapon, they're gonna build a nuclear weapon now at this point, because of this war. So that's all I'm saying about this. Let me. And last thing I will literally say about this here, because I don't want to I don't want to talk about this subject too much because it's such a messy subject. But look, the the most dangerous country, the most dangerous country that the United States ever fought, like in American history. Let me see here. The most dangerous country that America ever fought in its history is Japan. Like Japan is the strongest and the most dangerous country that we've ever fought against in a war. And the reason that Japan was so dangerous, they were even more dangerous than Germany when we were fighting against them, is because the Japanese would just fight till the very last man. They would not surrender. They would fight till the end. And they would just keep fighting and fighting till the last man. The reason that is so relevant to this situation here is because the Japanese believed that their emperor was a god, and they believed that if you surrendered, that was worse than death. And what has basically happened here now is when you look at a country like Iran, Iran is basically a psychotic theocracy. It's a religious dictatorship. That's what a theocracy is. It's a religious dictatorship. And what the US did was the US killed the Iranian dictator, but the Iranian dictator was also their holy leader. And what the US was hoping for, what they were hoping would happen, is they were hoping that when the US takes out the dictator, that the people in Iran are going to rise up, they're going to take to the streets, and they're going to overthrow the government. That was the entire American plan. What the US did not expect is they didn't expect that Iran was going to basically blockade the Strait of Hormuz and that Iran was going to unleash a huge missile attack and start bombing cities in the Middle East. They did not expect that was going to happen. The reason that people are not taking to the streets and protesting is because people are too scared of the Iranian regime. They protested 1 month for the attack in January. And when people protested in the streets, you know what the Iranian military did? They took the soldiers on the streets and they shot everybody. They killed 30,000 people. And if anybody got shot and they came to a hospital, the hospital will report that to the Iranian government and you get arrested for that. Even if your family member died, you would have to pay like a $100,000 fine and swear an allegiance of loyalty to the government. So the people are too scared to go to the streets because they know what's going to happen again. They're going to get all mass murdered in the streets. And so I don't know how the US government was like so stupid that they were basically that they thought that this conflict would be over in like a month. I remember in February where they said, oh, this war is going to end in a month, it'll be over in a month, and now we're getting to our 3rd month now. At this point, the war has nowhere end in sight, and literally Iran is a psychotic dictatorship. They started bombing cities in the Middle East. I don't know why they were so surprised that they did that. Like the US government was so surprised that Iran bombed like all of these cities. It's a psychotic dictatorship and you just killed their holy leader. These guys are going to fight to the death. They're not going to surrender now. They're not going to give up. And whoever is in charge of Iran right now they are not going to surrender to the US. The reason that the Iranian government is not going to surrender is because any leader that surrendered, they are going to the extremists in Iran, the Islamists that control the country, they are going to murder whoever that leader is if they surrender to America. They're going to see them as weak. And I have a friend of mine who's actually from Iran. He lives in Canada, but I was talking to him about this, and he told me that roughly around 60% of the population hates the Iranian regime. In Iran, the population of Iran is about 91 to 92 million people. So if 60% of the people hate the regime and around 40 to 30% of them support it, even if it's the low number, which is 30%, that's still 30 million extremists that you got to deal with. 30 million extremists. And that Iran is blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and the US did not expect that to happen at all. And now this is basically disrupting global oil supply lines. So, this could cause a global recession. That's basically it. So, this is what did I just come back to? Yeah, I was just talking a little bit about the Iran war. People were just asking me about that, but I'm sorry for anybody who I'm annoying with this conversation. I don't mean to be annoying, but it was just one person was just asking me about the conflict and stuff like that. But that's basically it. So like the point that I'm getting at right here, the only point that I'm trying to make to you, Swag, is just because I don't support involvement in the Iran war doesn't mean that I support Iran. Like I hate the government of Iran. I despise the government of Iran. I hate the government of Cuba too, but I don't want a war of Cuba. I hate the government of North Korea, but I don't want a war of North Korea. So that's basically just my perspective. Let me see here. But how can you say that based on your friend? This is just what my friend told me. I don't know if it's 100% true, but this is just what my friend told me. I don't know if Ferris is here in chat. He could probably talk about this more if he's here. He's from Iran. But this is basically the point that I'm getting at is that remember what I said months ago, guys. I said months ago that this war would turn into America's Ukraine. And that's exactly what happened. This war is literally turned into America's Ukraine. That's essentially what happened with this. It was it. So I am a non-interventionist. I don't support getting involved in other countries' affairs. I have made that position clear for years. So I don't know why you're surprised that I'm against this conflict swag. I've always said several times we shouldn't get involved in other countries' affairs. So I don't want a war with anybody. I don't want terrorists with nukes. That's all. Well, look, I don't want terrorists with nukes either. But do you know how many evil dictatorships there are on this planet? Like, literally is, I could name you so many dictatorships off the top of my head. Eritrea, Turkmenistan, North Korea, Iran, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela. There's just so many more. Burma, or Myanmar, I should say. China, Vietnam, like literally, there Laos. There is just so many countries that are dictatorships, like just around the planet. We can't fix every single country. We can't get involved in all of that stuff. I'm a trader from India. I made 9,500 in April and May, and I am not a pro trader. Imagine how much billions made by manipulating markets. Well, I don't know. The politicians are probably making money off of the markets. With this conflict, stocks fell, and then they bought up a lot of that stuff too. Africa is full of dictators. A lot of countries in Africa are dictatorships. That is true. It's like maybe like 40% of Africa is not a democracy. Like it's like it has the largest percentage of countries in a continent that are not democracies is in Africa. Yeah, you're right on that. But I will just say is that and look, Swag, I'm not trying to be mean to you or anything. You're a viewer of mine and I like you, but I'm just explaining to you my perspective. And when people when you tell people when people go to the gas station, like I filled up my dad's car the other day, $70 to fill up his car. $70. Gas is getting close to $5 a gallon. And when people look at that and they look at the cost of groceries going up, they look at their gas prices, and then you tell people that we have to stop Iran from getting a nuke. Nobody's going to care about that. People are just going to care about their grocery prices and what they're dealing with right now. Like if you were to go back in time and attack North Korea, preventing the UN's and them having a nuke, would you do it? Well, the U.S. invaded North Korea in the U.S. invaded North Korea during the Korean War. We almost won, but then China got involved. Swag, please don't accuse me of that. Don't accuse me because I've been very nice to you. So just please don't accuse me of that. That's what I'm just gonna say. Jaime Weiss needs more attention. He scared the crap out of Al Capone, and he was the most fearsome of the North Side gang. Yeah, well, Jaime Weiss was described by Al Capone as the only guy that he feared. That is true. Let me see. Well, just think, Swag, I've been very nice to you too. So just don't say that. That's what I'll say. Please play Call of Duty 3 on its 20th anniversary. Oh, when is the anniversary of Call of Duty 3? Let me look that up. All right, Belarus. Belarus and Russia are dictatorships too. How could I forget them too? When did Call of Duty 3 come out? I know people are like coming in the chat and be like, what are they talking about? Like Iran war. That's November 7, 2006 when it came out. Okay, I could do it. Don't say that also, W fan. Swag, if you want, I could add you on PlayStation and I could have an entire conversation with you about this if you want. But I don't, I just don't want to talk about the subject anymore personally. Just respect my opinion, I've respected yours. I agree we need younger leaders, Isaiah, too. Am I gonna play the Forelli Redemption and Sindako Chronicles mods? I could. I could play those. Yeah, I could do them, definitely. Probably try to do that all before GTA 6. What America should do is to provide military support to surrounding countries near Iran, not being a special military operation, is my opinion. Well, thank you, Jolly, for the super chat. I read your super chat. It was about the younger world leaders, right? The president of the United States from both parties are a joke. Yeah, I don't like both parties either. You know, I wish we had a president that would keep us out of wars, but both parties have done it. I'm still up, yeah. What's your Discord, Swag? I could add you. Hey, thank you, Eric. Thank you, man. Oh well, Hey Arnold was a great show. I did love it a lot when I was a kid. It's a great show. Let me see here. I'm gonna end the stream in a moment, guys. I'm gonna get something to eat here. I'm sorry for all of the Iran war talk. I know people probably don't want to hear that. It was just one person asking me a question, and no, he wasn't W fan. He was a warmonger as well. He destabilized Libya and Syria. So no, he wasn't. Turkey is kind of a weird country. I wouldn't call it like a full-on dictatorship, but it is pretty authoritarian. It is. Okay, I can add you. I can add you on Discord, Swag, and I could talk to you about this another time. Let me see here. Check if you got my request. Because I think I just sent it, but well, thank you, GTA Gar. Do you think America needs someone like Ron Paul? I actually supported Ron Paul in 2012. I thought he was a great candidate. I think if we had him as president, we could have probably avoided a lot of the wars. Let me see. Swag, check if you got that. I think I sent it to you. Okay. I think I might order pizza tonight. I haven't had pizza in some time, but I just nothing left in the fridge. Okay. I will play 007 First Light. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to reach out to the developer and see if I can get an early copy. I guess I'll be heading out here, guys. Order Domino's. Well, that's actually what I was thinking about. You know what I was thinking about doing one day? one day, when GTA 6 comes out, right? What we're gonna do one day, I'll do like a GTA 6 stream, and when that game comes out, when we're gonna play in the online, I was thinking about doing like a prank video, like a prank stream, where what I do on the stream is I'm playing GTA 6, but what happens is I let the chat literally make my pizza for me. So I let the chat like I order from Domino's, but I let the chat like vote on all the toppings in the pizza, and I let the chat like make the most ridiculous, crazy pizza, and then I eat it on stream. Like that I'm thinking about doing something like that. That's like a funny video or a stream. It'd be funnier if it was live because people would see that. But that was I could imagine the chat would make like the most ridiculous pizza ever. Like people would do pineapples and then pepperoni, anchovy, and like the whole thing together. Like I can imagine people would make the most ridiculous thing for me to eat. Like that was just that I was thinking about that. That'd be a funny video to make. Uh uh enjoy your pizza, Pro. You earned it. Well, thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll be heading out here, guys. Thank you guys for the hanging out with me on the stream today. I will stream GTA Online on Sunday. Sunday, and then Wednesday we'll do the Yakuza Kiwami stream, finally finishing to 100%. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful day, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.